What if the world's most brilliant mind, yes, that mind, discovered a way to slow aging, and no one noticed? That was the headline. It popped up quietly on an obscure Reddit thread at 3:13 a.m. Tuesday morning, under a grainy screenshot showing Elon Musk in what looked like a jungle. Shirt slightly unbuttoned, face sun-kissed, posture straighter than it had been in years. No caption. No explanation. Just a single word typed in shaky font below the image. Rebirth. Within hours, conspiracy forums exploded. He found a new anti-aging compound in space. No, it's Neuralink for the body. Elon faked a burnout to test longevity tech in secret. But the truth? It was stranger than fiction. Let's rewind. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? In the fall of 2024, Elon Musk vanished from public view for exactly 96 days. No tweets. No interviews. No meme replies. Tesla earnings call. Delegated. SpaceX launch. Silent observer, if present at all. Starlink PR. Nothing but a pre-recorded clip. At first, people assumed he was taking a much-needed break. Man's been working at Martian hours for decades, one YouTuber joked. But those who knew Elon best, his family, his engineers, even his bodyguard, noticed something different. It all started on a rainy Tuesday in Austin, Texas. Inside Tesla's R&D compound, Elon stood in front of a mirror. Just back from a 28-hour overseas trip, his reflection startled him. His jawline was soft. His eyes carried bags heavier than the Falcon 9 payload. His lower back ached constantly now. His skin was dry, aged, almost translucent under harsh fluorescent lights. His assistant, Grace, knocked twice before entering. Dr. Myers is here. Dr. Rachel Myers. Molecular biologist. MIT grad. Founder of Biogenesis Labs, a relatively unknown startup focused on nutritional cell therapy. She was also the woman who, a decade earlier, had quietly published a paper about reversing age-related cell damage in rats using a diet designed around ancient plant compounds. Elon hadn't forgotten. Rachel walked in carrying only a black binder and an air of calm professionalism. No pitch deck. No hype. Just science. You said you didn't want another startup, she said, her voice level. I don't, Elon replied, leaning against the desk. I want time. Rachel flipped open the binder. Inside were 3 bold letters on the first page, EAS, Enhanced Ageless Systems. 3 foods, she said. All natural. All ancient. 1 from the sea, 1 from the earth, 1 from the trees. Combined, they activate dormant regenerative processes. In early trials, they've slowed cognitive decline, reversed tissue inflammation, and extended healthy muscle mass in patients over 65. Elon looked at her skeptically. So, you've cracked aging with a salad? Rachel chuckled. It's not magic. It's biochemistry. But yes, these foods, when prepared and consumed properly, trigger specific epigenetic switches in your cells. Elon flipped to the next page. This one. Arctic sea moss. Anti-inflammatory powerhouse, she explained. It's packed with minerals that regulate testosterone and adrenal health. More importantly, it works with your gut microbiome to reduce systemic aging at a cellular level. He closed the binder. I want to try it. All of it. Personally. Quietly. Rachel hesitated. We haven't tested this in someone your age, or under your stress load. It's still experimental. Elon stared at her. So was landing a rocket on a drone ship. The next 96 days weren't spent on yachts or silent retreats. They were spent underground, in a former missile silo turned bionutrition lab 30 miles west of Austin. No Wi-Fi. No press. No distractions. Just Elon, Rachel, a team of nutritionists, and 3 core elements of what she called the Trinity Protocol. 1. Arctic sea moss, a wild harvested sea vegetable known for its mineral density and anti-aging properties. 2. To be revealed in later chapters. 3. To be revealed in later chapters. Each day, Elon followed the same routine: wake up at sunrise, full-spectrum light exposure, 10-minute cold plunge, followed by a carefully calibrated meal centered around one of the Trinity foods. No caffeine. No synthetic supplements. Every biomarker, brain activity, heart rate, inflammation, hormonal shifts, was logged. By day 15, Elon's sleep scores had improved by 40%. By day 28, his spine, once stiff from long hours and old injuries, moved like it did in his 20s. By day 44, his skin, once papery and pale, glowed with life. Rachel noticed something else too: his voice carried more warmth, less mechanical precision. He laughed more. Thought slower, but deeper. But the transformation wasn't just physical. On day 73, while slicing a piece of fermented kelp, a test batch for flavoring, Elon paused. "I've spent half my life trying to escape the earth," he said, setting the knife down. "Maybe I should have been trying to heal it first." Rachel looked up. "And yourself?" He smiled. For the first time in years, it wasn't the smirk of a man selling the future, it was the grin of someone rediscovering the present. Of course, no secret stays hidden forever. On day 91, a junior technician, curious and foolish, snapped a selfie with Elon during a biometric check-in. He uploaded it to a cloud server before heading home. 2 days later, the image leaked. Within minutes, Twitter was ablaze. Is this really Elon Musk? He looks younger. Where the hell has he been? But Elon said nothing. Not yet. This was the beginning of something more than a wellness routine. It was the beginning of a movement. A revelation. And maybe, a revolution. The human body, they say, sends whispers before it screams. Elon Musk's body had been whispering for years. It was subtle at first: sleepless nights that no amount of melatonin could fix, stiff joints after long engineering sessions, a growing stack of vitamins that did little more than decorate his countertops. He ignored them. There were rockets to land, grids to optimize, cities to tunnel beneath. But in the spring of 2024, the whisper turned into a roar. It happened during a tour of the Tesla Gigafactory in Berlin. The cameras were rolling. Investors were watching. Elon was mid-sentence, explaining battery yield improvements, when he stumbled, his left knee buckled without warning. Just a fraction of a second. He recovered quickly, laughed it off, waved to the crowd. But the damage was done. Backstage, Mae Musk, his mother, former model, nutritionist, and one of his fiercest protectors, pulled him aside. "Elon," she said softly, touching his shoulder, "this isn't sustainable. You're pushing past your limits." He brushed her off. "It's just fatigue. I haven't slept well. I'll reset." But that night, alone in his hotel room, the reset never came. His Apple Watch lit up, elevated heart rate. Low variability. His own custom biometric dashboard, coded by Tesla engineers for peak human performance, was flashing red across 5 vital categories. And the mirror? That cursed mirror again. The same sunken eyes. The tired jaw. The shoulders slumped like a man twice his age. Elon sank into the edge of the bed. He had scaled the peaks of technology. He had thrown satellites into orbit, defied governments, shifted the course of energy, transport, even civilization itself. But the one frontier that refused to yield? His own biology. 2 days later, back in Austin, Elon sat across from a team of his personal doctors. Let's be honest, he said bluntly. Am I wearing down? Dr. Patel, a cardiologist and longtime consultant, glanced at the numbers. You're not critical. But your markers show systemic stress. Cortisol is high. Testosterone's low. You're dehydrated. Muscle density is dropping, and you've lost weight, bad weight. In other words, Elon replied, I'm aging. You're 53, Dr. Patel said, and your output rivals most 20-year-olds. But that output has a cost. You're burning the candle on both ends. Elon nodded slowly. What if I don't want to burn out? What if I want to adapt? That's when he remembered her, Rachel Myers. They'd met briefly years ago, during a think tank on regenerative technologies. Rachel had spoken about cellular senescence and the power of food as biological code, how certain nutrients could unlock healing processes long buried in our DNA. At the time, Elon had dismissed it as fringe science. Too slow. Too soft. He wanted fast, industrial solutions. Patches, devices, enhancements. Now he wasn't so sure. He called her the next morning. Rachel Myers wasn't surprised. She'd been waiting. Working out of a minimalist clinic in Boulder, Colorado, she'd turned down multiple offers from Big Pharma. She preferred data to drama, cells to sales pitches. Her most recent publication, under a pseudonym, had gone viral in academic circles, a case study showing a reversal in cognitive decline among elderly patients using a protocol based purely on food as medicine. Still think it's fringe? She asked when Elon appeared on the video call. He shook his head. I think I'm running out of time. That weekend, he flew to Boulder. The meeting was short and clinical, no small talk. Rachel handed him a small tablet, unlocked, displaying her prototype system. 3 pillars. 3 ingredients. 3 months. You're not just trying to slow aging, she said. You're trying to upgrade the operating system of a 53-year-old body that's been through Mars, media wars, and mental burnout. Elon grinned. So, biohacking? Rachel shook her head. No. Biohealing. There's a difference. He returned to Austin and called a meeting. May was there, sitting quietly at the far end of the table. His brother Kimball, a food entrepreneur and sustainability advocate, joined via hologram. Grace, his chief of staff, took notes as Elon laid out his plan. I'm going dark for 3 months. No press. No launches. I'll still monitor from afar, but I need to focus. This is for longevity. Personal. Private. Non-negotiable. May looked up. You're finally taking your health seriously. I'm optimizing the one system I've neglected, Elon replied. Myself. Kimball nodded slowly. So, what's the protocol? Elon tapped the tablet and turned it toward the screen. 3 food groups glowed under the label Trinity Protocol. May leaned forward, curious. What are they? Not supplements, Elon said. Not pills. Real food. Sourced naturally. Ancient wisdom, backed by current science. He paused. And if this works, he said, it changes everything, not just for me. For millions. Later that night, May brought him a warm mug of rooibos tea. She sat beside him on the balcony overlooking the Texas plains. You know, she said gently, when you were young, I used to worry that your brain would burn out your body. Elon smiled. You weren't wrong. I'm glad you're slowing down, she continued. He shook his head. I'm not slowing down. I'm upgrading. They sat in silence for a moment, the wind soft and cool. In the distance, coyotes called, wild and free. Do you think it's too late? Elon asked quietly. May took his hand. For you? Never. And so, with the quiet blessing of family and the sharp focus of a man on a mission, Elon Musk prepared for the most personal experiment of his life, not in a lab, but in his own body. He wouldn't post about it. He wouldn't monetize it. Not yet. Because this wasn't about business. This was about becoming. If you drove west out of Austin for about an hour, past the tech parks, past the winding hills and tucked behind what looked like an abandoned ranch, you'd find a narrow dirt road with no signpost. Just a faded mailbox labeled D. A fingerprint scanner lay hidden beneath a false rock near the fence. Once activated, a double-gate system creaked open, revealing a subterranean entrance disguised as a weather-beaten storage barn. This was Site Echo, a classified, Musk-funded bioresearch facility with no formal connection to SpaceX, Tesla, or Neuralink. On paper, it didn't even exist. In reality, it was where the future of aging quietly hung in the balance. The interior was unlike anything from a sci-fi movie. No chrome, no flashing lights. Just soft, neutral lighting, matte concrete walls, and the quiet hum of data servers. Designed more like a Scandinavian wellness retreat than a lab, every detail served a dual purpose, function and focus. Here, Elon Musk wasn't the CEO, the visionary, or the icon. He was the subject. Rachel Myers met him at the elevator wearing a navy utility jacket and her usual no-nonsense expression. She handed him a tablet with a real-time dashboard of his vitals. "Your cortisol's already down 12% since leaving LA, she noted. "Jet lag stress is reversing faster than expected." Elon barely nodded, his mind already scanning the space. "How's the gut biome sequencing coming?" "Stable," she said. "You've got strong microbiota diversity, but you've got inflammatory markers from stress and overexposure to synthetic compounds." "So we purged that," he said, stepping into the main hall. Rachel smirked. "It's not a detox juice cleanse, Elon. This is cellular recalibration." Site Echo had 6 zones. 1. Nutritional lab, where food was treated like code. Fermentation tanks, freeze dryers, nutrient isolators. 2. Microbiome suite, real-time gut scans via ingestible sensors. 3. Neurocognition bay, EEG monitoring, VR cognition tests. 4. Muscle response chamber, movement, gait, balance, reaction. 5. Environmental stress room, a variable climate pod to test adaptability. 6. The grow room, where the magic grew. Literally. It was in the grow room that Elon paused longest. Rows of vertical hydroponic towers glowed with warm, amber light. Inside them were strange plants, some sea-based, some moss-like, others resembling nothing he'd ever seen. Rachel handed him a small glass vial filled with a dark green paste. "Elixir 1, she said. "Arctic sea moss. Harvested and bio-enhanced to preserve mineral integrity." He sniffed it. Earthy. Salty. Almost metallic. "Tastes like Martian algae," he muttered, taking a spoonful. Rachel watched closely as he swallowed. "That's 92 trace minerals, natural collagen, iodine, iron, potassium, and sulfated polysaccharides, delivered in bioavailable form." "And how soon do I feel something?" Rachel raised an eyebrow. "This isn't Red Bull. You won't feel it, but your mitochondria will." For the next 14 days, Elon entered a controlled protocol. Each day began at 5:30 a.m. with a cold plunge, followed by 10 minutes of sunlight exposure in a climate-controlled solarium. Then breakfast, consisting primarily of carefully portioned servings of sea moss jelly, fermented adaptogens, and omega-rich root powders. Lunches and dinners rotated with dense, plant-based dishes sourced from indigenous recipes. No meat. No processed oils. No sugar. Every meal was scanned for enzyme absorption and inflammatory response. Grace, his ever-loyal assistant, stayed in Austin and coordinated schedules remotely. Only one other person was permitted on site, Rachel's research partner, Dr. Jinwoo Lee, a quiet, meticulous Korean cellular biologist who rarely spoke unless he had something worth saying. By day 5, Elon started noticing subtle changes. His thoughts felt more linear. He stopped needing his usual 3 cups of coffee. His lower back pain faded. By day 8, he was sleeping through the night for the first time in months. But the real surprise came on day 10. In the neurocognition bay, Elon completed a cognition test used to monitor decision fatigue and working memory. It involved rapidly solving logic puzzles, spatial memory grids, and emotional recognition under mild stress conditions. Rachel watched as his scores not only improved but blew past his baseline from 2 years ago. "Your brain is running like it's 35, she said quietly, glancing at the biometric overlay. Elon shrugged. "Maybe I just needed rest." "No," she said. "This is deeper. You're building resilience. The kind we usually lose by midlife." Jinwoo approached, holding a tablet. "Cellular ATP output is also increasing. That shouldn't happen this fast." Elon leaned back in his chair. "Maybe we've underestimated food." Rachel crossed her arms. "We always have. But it wasn't all progress." On day 12, a tremor hit the server room. It wasn't an earthquake, it was a digital one. A failed firewall update allowed a 5-minute breach by an unknown cyber entity. The team scrambled to isolate the source, fearing a leak of Elon's vitals or worse, protocol data. By morning, they confirmed it. An outside IP in Zurich had accessed the AI modeling files related to Trinity Protocol. The culprit? Unknown. Motivation? Likely industrial espionage. Musk was, after all, a trillion-dollar disruption magnate. "Nothing leaves this lab," Elon said, jaw tight. "From now on, air gap everything." Rachel nodded. But the tension was real. The outside world was watching. They couldn't afford a misstep, not now. That night, alone in his quarters, Elon opened an encrypted file titled Vitality_0x_notes. In it were reflections, logs, and questions he hadn't shared with anyone. He typed. "Day 13, my body feels like a system that's finally getting the right software update. But I'm still skeptical. What if this doesn't last? What if I'm chasing something that can't be hacked, time?" He paused. Then added. "Still, I've never felt this focused. Not even in the early PayPal days. Maybe food is the final frontier after all." He saved the file, closed the tablet, and turned out the lights. Tomorrow, Rachel would introduce the second food. And nothing would be the same. The human body is a machine, but unlike rockets or cars, it doesn't respond to force. It responds to rhythm, to chemistry, to harmony. This was the foundation behind what Rachel Myers called the 3 pillars. Each pillar wasn't just a food, it was a key. A biological switch, evolved through millennia, that could be turned back on. Elon had already ingested the first, Arctic sea moss, the mineral-dense marine superfood that rebuilt his cellular foundation. It was powerful. But it was just the beginning. The second pillar was even stranger. "Elon, have you ever heard of lion's tooth root?" Rachel asked over breakfast on day 15. He looked up from his plate, where a minimalist arrangement of fermented kelp, microgreens, and bright orange paste sat like a work of art. "Dandelion?" "Exactly," she nodded. "But not the kind growing in your backyard. We're talking about an alpine strain, grown in volcanic soil, exposed to extreme UV radiation. It develops a compound called teroxastrolin. When processed correctly, it becomes a potent cellular detoxifier and regenerative activator." "So, a weed," he said, raising an eyebrow. Rachel smiled. "A weed that clears senescent cells from your body. Zombie cells. The kind that clog up systems and accelerate aging." Jinwoo chimed in from across the room. Think of it like deleting corrupted code from your body's hard drive. Elon picked up his spoon and tasted the puree. It was bitter, earthy, with a kick of heat. Not pleasant. But not the worst thing he'd eaten in the name of science. Day 1 of Pillar 2, Rachel said. Let's begin. That week, the protocol shifted. Meals incorporated dandelion root in different forms, broths, teas, fermented paste, even a capsule made from freeze-dried microparticles. But the key wasn't just ingestion, it was timing. At 9 a.m. each morning, Elon entered the microbiome suite for targeted enzyme activation. The lab's AI system tracked his metabolic cycles in real time, adjusting the compound delivery window to his exact cellular clock. No guesswork. Everything was measured, optimized. And the results? By day 4 of Pillar 2, Elon's inflammation markers dropped by 38%. His joint mobility, measured by a kinetic response harness, increased 12%. But more than numbers, there was a clarity forming in him. His mind felt decluttered. He described it during an evening debrief with Rachel and Jean Wu. It's like I've had background noise in my brain for years. Always humming. Now it's quiet. Ideas come through clearer. Rachel nodded. That's neural detox. Your cognitive load is no longer burdened by internal stress signals. Elon leaned back. I've always run at maximum bandwidth. It never occurred to me I was also running through noise. Jean Wu scrolled through biometric graphs. Your parasympathetic nervous system is finally dominant. You're in rest and restore mode, something you haven't accessed in probably 20 years. That's terrifying, Elon muttered. But also, hopeful. Meanwhile, Rachel was tracking something even deeper. She pulled Elon's epigenetic data from baseline. DNA methylation patterns, tiny chemical switches that regulate how genes express, were shifting. In some areas, they had reversed. You're not just slowing aging, she told him one evening. You're biologically rewinding. These markers suggest your functional age is now closer to 42 than 53. Elon didn't reply right away. He stared at the readout, the glowing blue lines that represented his body at the smallest scale. I always thought time was the one thing I couldn't negotiate with, he said finally. Rachel looked him in the eye. Maybe you just weren't speaking its language. The next morning, a visitor arrived. Unexpected. Unannounced. Kimball Musk. Elon's younger brother, entrepreneur, chef, sustainability advocate. The man who had once built an empire around food, long before farm to table was trendy. How'd you get in? Elon asked, surprised. Grace told me the protocols. I hacked your gate. You should really update your security firmware, Kimball grinned, stepping out of a black Rivian. He looked around the facility with curiosity. So, this is your fortress of food? Rachel extended a hand. Good to meet you in person. We've studied your work in regenerative agriculture. Kimball nodded. I always said food is the most powerful medicine. Glad you're finally listening. Over the next hour, Elon brought him up to speed, showed him the labs, the grow room, the neuro data. Kimball listened carefully, eyes sharp. At one point, he touched one of the moss towers and smiled. Funny. We've spent decades trying to make food fast, cheap, and scalable. And now, we're unlearning all of it. Elon looked at his brother. Do you think people will accept this? Real food. Slow food. Ancient food. Kimball shrugged. If you tell them it'll make them feel 20 years younger. Yeah. They'll listen. He paused. Especially if you're the proof. That night, the brothers sat under a dim red light in the solarium. No phones. No noise. Just stars. You think this could work for Mom? Elon asked quietly. Kimball nodded. She'd be skeptical at first. But she's sharp. She'll see the science. And you know what else? She deserves to feel strong again. We all do. Elon didn't respond, but his face said everything. This wasn't just about biohacking billionaires anymore. This was about family. About legacy. On day 21, the second food pillar was complete. Elon's biomarkers were better than any baseline in his adult life. His face was different, clearer, sharper. Not younger in a cosmetic way, but more alive. There was tension in his shoulders, but the good kind, the tension of potential. Rachel handed him a sealed envelope. Inside, the data summary of Pillar 2. You've purged what needed to go, she said. Now it's time to rebuild. Elon looked up. Pillar 3. She nodded. The rarest of them all. But before they could begin, a new alert lit up the internal dashboard. Unauthorized server attempt. Region, Norway, secure bioarchive access blocked. Someone else was looking for the third pillar. And they were getting closer. They called it Luminous Arbor. In Latin, the tree that eats light. But to the Sami elders of northern Norway, it was simply Aran, the sacred warmth. A tree older than history itself, growing in near permafrost soil, halfway up a sunless cliff near the Arctic Circle. It didn't bloom. It didn't fruit. It glowed. Literally. In the dim months of the polar night, when the sky forgot how to be blue, this tree emitted a faint bioluminescence, soft, golden, almost firefly-like. For centuries, locals believed it was magic. And maybe they weren't wrong. Rachel stood in front of the Site Echo main screen, laser pointer in hand. This is the third food, she announced. It doesn't grow anywhere else on Earth. It thrives without sun, in freezing temperatures. Its bark contains a rare compound, phytoluminol, a natural mitochondrial stimulant. She clicked again, bringing up a slide of chemical structures and clinical notes. In animal trials, it doubled the regenerative response to muscle damage. But what's more astonishing is its effect on mitochondrial density. It doesn't just slow cell death, it reverses fatigue at the source. Jin Woo crossed his arms. There's only one sample on file. Extracted in 1981 by a Soviet expedition. The rest is stored in a deep cryoarchive beneath Tromsø University. Elon leaned in. So, the third pillar isn't in this lab. Rachel looked at him. No. And we're not the only ones looking for it. 2 weeks earlier, an encrypted message had been intercepted by a Tesla cybersecurity node. It referenced something called Project PAX, coordinated out of Zurich and linked to a multinational pharmaceutical conglomerate. Their goal was identical. Reverse aging. Own the solution. Patent immortality. Their strategy? Acquire the tree. Not just a sample. The whole organism. By the evening of day 22, Elon had made his decision. I'm going, he told Rachel, eyes steady. If the tree is the key, I want to see it with my own eyes. Rachel didn't argue. We'll need local access. A guide. Protection. I'll take Kimball, Elon said. He speaks the language of food and nature. And he's crazy enough to say yes. 3 days later, they were in Norway. Not in Oslo or Bergen, but in a fishing village north of the Arctic Circle. Snow blanketed the land in quiet, thick silence. The air was so cold it made Elon's nose bleed on the first night. But he didn't complain. This was what it meant to chase the third key. The villagers were wary, especially of cameras. But when Kimball offered fresh supplies and mentioned Aaron, the door cracked open. An elder named Tomas Akala, no younger than 80, agreed to lead them. I will take you to it, he said, his English rough but clear. But you must not cut it. Only touch. Only learn. No samples. Elon asked. Tomas narrowed his eyes. Last time men came, tree burned. Not again. Elon nodded. We'll respect it. They hiked by headlamp for 6 hours, through a canyon of blue ice, along wind-whipped ridges, then down a slope so steep it felt like falling in slow motion. At the bottom, in a gully hidden from satellite view, stood a cluster of trees. All dark. All silent. Except one. It glowed like a candle on the edge of the world. Not bright. Not dramatic. Just enough to see your breath shimmer around it. The bark was almost translucent, veined with a golden pulse that seemed to beat in rhythm with the wind. Elon stood still. He'd seen starships. He'd stood on launch pads shaking with fire. But nothing had ever felt so quiet, or so alive. What if this tree is older than civilization, he whispered. Tomas nodded. It gives warmth, not heat. Memory, not fire. Rachel stepped forward, sensor in hand. It beeped gently. High levels of NAD precursors, she murmured. This tree produces its own mitochondrial fuel. Kimball knelt beside a root. Even the soil's alive. This isn't just a tree. It's a system. Elon reached out slowly and placed his palm against the trunk. It was warm. Like skin. Like light made physical. They didn't take bark. They didn't dig. But Rachel brought a sensor node, no larger than a coin, designed to collect spore particles released naturally into the air. With Tomas's quiet blessing, she placed it near the roots. Give us 24 hours, she said. It'll collect enough for analysis. But they didn't have 24 hours. That night, a snowmobile echoed across the cliffs. 2 figures. Not locals. Not hikers. Armed. Elon, Kimball, and Rachel were still in the tent when Tomas burst in. Men coming. No good. They look for tree. They grabbed the sensor, zipped their gear, and vanished into the snow. For 2 hours they backtracked across frozen streams and rock fields, moving without light. Finally, with breath tearing from their lungs, they reached the outpost hut where their pilot waited. Elon looked back one last time. The tree was gone from view, but the feeling wasn't. Back at Site Echo, Rachel placed the spore sensor under a microscope. Inside, thousands of tiny luminous particles. Alive. Intact. We have enough, she whispered. The third pillar had made it home. Back at Site Echo, the third pillar was finally ready. Rachel stood in the dim nutritional lab, eyes fixed on the centrifuge. Inside, golden droplets spun with precision, extracted from the microscopic spores gathered near the luminous arbor. Each droplet held the essence of a tree that thrived in darkness and emitted its own light. No synthetic booster, she murmured to herself. This one speaks to the immune system directly. The spore concentrate was volatile, alive, active, and temperature sensitive. It had to be delivered in a very specific sequence. Not orally. Not topically. It would be administered through microdose mist, a vapor Elon would inhale under strict biometric monitoring. It wasn't medicine. It was information, coded in nature's oldest language. Elon sat quietly in the neurocognition bay, hooked up to a web of sensors. Heart rate steady. Breath slow. Brainwaves humming at the edge of theta. His eyes were closed, but his mind wasn't. He was preparing. Jean Wu stood by with the mist chamber. The device looked like a sleek white VR headset but emitted only a cool, colorless vapor. Rachel entered, holding the vial. You ready? She asked. Elon opened his eyes. Do I have a choice? She smiled. Not if you want to know what it feels like to have your immune system reboot from scratch. At 6:07 a.m., the chamber activated. A soft hiss filled the room. The vapor cloud formed in front of Elon's face, almost invisible. He inhaled, slow, intentional. Once. Twice. 3 times. His vitals held steady, then spiked. Not dangerously. Just, awake. His pupils dilated slightly. Oxygen saturation increased. Then, a flood of tiny biochemical messages surged through his system. Cytokines rebalanced. White blood cells reorganized. T-cell activity rose 19% in under 2 minutes. Rachel whispered, more to herself than anyone else. He's responding. But Elon didn't hear her. Because something had shifted inside. It's like, he said softly, I can feel everything I've ignored. He described it later like this. Imagine your body as a giant server farm. For years, processes are left running in the background, junk files, failed scripts, warning logs. You ignore them because they're small, until one day, the system freezes. This wasn't a crash. This was a clean restart. Over the next 48 hours, Elon experienced what Rachel called full somatic awakening. Subtle tremors ran down his spine. Old injuries tingled, scar tissue, muscle adhesions, microtraumas. Not painful. Just present. His immune system wasn't just fighting illness anymore. It was seeking balance. Jinwoo's charts showed a rare occurrence, homeostatic recalibration. Every system, digestive, endocrine, lymphatic, began working together for the first time in decades. The noise in his system? Gone. It was like watching a man become clear. Then came the dreams. They started on night 2 of the MIST protocol. Vivid, lucid. Not chaotic like stress dreams, these were structured. Elon described a sensation of walking through corridors of memory, revisiting moments from childhood, teenage years, early tech life. He woke with a strange mix of awe and sorrow. This third food, he said to Rachel during a morning debrief, it's doing more than healing me. It's decoding me. Rachel looked up from her tablet. That's the idea. Your cells aren't just data, they're a story. This food is helping your body remember how to tell it properly. Elon chuckled. Sounds poetic for a scientist. I used to write poetry, she said. Before medicine. By day 5, something else changed, his posture. He stood differently. Shoulders relaxed. Chest lifted. His voice dropped slightly in pitch, more grounded. His gait, recorded during daily balance tests, was smoother, faster, and symmetrical. It's not just internal, Kimball said during a visit. You look, well, like you've offloaded something heavy. I did, Elon replied. 53 years of ignoring the machine. And then came the final test. Rachel and Jinwoo called it the Trinity Challenge, a 3-part physical, cognitive, and emotional trial designed to simulate the stress of a Mars mission launch. Think, 4 a.m. wake-up, low oxygen chamber, unexpected ethical dilemmas thrown in mid-task. It had broken elite athletes before. But Elon didn't just pass it, he reset the baseline. His cortisol didn't spike. His cognitive delay stayed flat. His decision-making under pressure remained razor-sharp. Heart rate. Steady. Focus. Surgical. Rachel stared at the results. You're no longer just optimized, she said. You've become resilient. That evening, Elon asked to see the data alone. For 2 hours, he reviewed charts, notes, MRI scans, cell logs. Every number told the same story, renewal. But beneath it all, one question kept echoing. Why doesn't everyone have access to this? He knew the answer, of course. It wasn't scalable. Not yet. That night, he recorded a voice memo, unfiltered, raw. What if we're all walking around with the tools to heal, and we just forgot how to use them? What if food isn't about nutrition, but information, code written by evolution? What if this, isn't a protocol for billionaires, but the blueprint for every senior citizen still waiting to feel alive again. He paused. Then added. If this works, we share it. No matter what it costs. In the weeks ahead, Elon would step back into the spotlight. The media would speculate wildly: weight loss, new cosmetic surgery, AI-enhanced cognition. But the truth was simpler. He had healed. And he hadn't done it through money or machines or pills. He'd done it through food. Real food. Ancient food. Food that spoke to the core of who we are. And now, the world would want to know. What were those 3 foods? And Elon Musk would be ready to tell them. It started with a tweet. Anonymous. Cryptic. Just 12 words. Elon Musk is eating a tree that glows in the dark. Hashtag Project Trinity. At first, no one paid attention. Social media was full of Musk rumors: robot dogs, AI clones, teleportation chambers. But this one hit differently. The hashtag trended in under an hour. By the end of the day, Reddit and biotech forums lit up with conspiracy threads. Some dismissed it as clickbait. Others demanded proof. And then, someone provided it. At 2:41 a.m., Rachel Myers was awakened by a piercing alarm at Site Echo. Security breach, internal file access, classified folder, Trinity_protocol. She bolted upright. No. 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 By the time she reached the main console, Jin Woo was already there, scrolling through the logs with deadly calm. Encrypted files were opened and screen recorded from inside the compound, he said. Who? Rachel asked, breathless. He turned the screen toward her. Access point, Terminal A03, Staff ID, Grace Holloway. Elon's assistant. His most trusted person. Get her on the line. Now, Rachel snapped. But Grace didn't answer. Her GPS tracker was offline. Her keycard had last pinged the East Hangar, hours ago. By 3:15 a.m., her Tesla had exited Site Echo's perimeter and disappeared off the satellite grid. Burned chip. Scrambled ID. She was gone. When Elon arrived at the lab, his expression was unreadable. She wouldn't do this, he said simply. Rachel didn't respond. She showed him the footage, grainy night vision video of Grace entering the nutritional lab, downloading key data from the Neurobio table, and slipping out silently. She was in here less than 7 minutes, Jin Woo said. She knew exactly what she was looking for. Elon stared at the screen, then at the team. Lock it all down. Air gap the lab. No uplinks. From this point on, we go dark. Rachel hesitated. Elon, this changes everything. If even part of the protocol leaks. Then we build faster, he cut in. And we make sure the world hears it from us first. By noon, The Guardian had published an article titled, Elon Musk's Immortality Project, Inside the Secret Food Lab. Citing unnamed sources, it described 3 superfoods with regenerative properties, secret clinical trials, and a restricted biocompound found only in Arctic Norway. Within hours, MSNBC, Bloomberg, and BBC picked up the story. Elon trended worldwide, again. But this time, it wasn't about Mars or AI. It was about aging. And the question on everyone's mind was the same. Is it real? Rachel paced the observation deck, voice tight with fury. This wasn't just a leak. This was targeted. Precise. Someone wanted this to explode. Jin Woo nodded, pulling up more server logs. It gets worse. Zurich's Project PX just filed a patent for synthetic phytoluminol. That's impossible, Rachel said. They don't have the tree. They don't need it, Elon said from behind her. They just need to fake it long enough to convince investors they do. He stepped forward, eyes locked on the floor-to-ceiling data wall. We're not racing against time anymore. We're racing against control. By evening, a decision had to be made. They could retreat, bury the Trinity Protocol, wait for the world to catch up, and avoid becoming the face of a food revolution. Or they could go public. Not with speculation or branding, but with proof. Real numbers. Real transformation. Elon's own story. Unfiltered. You want to go live? Rachel asked. I want to go honest, Elon replied. No PR team. No spin. Just the truth. Jean Wu raised an eyebrow. You realize they'll say you're faking it. That you're using performance enhancers. AI augmentations. God knows what else. Elon shrugged. They always do. He turned to Rachel. Can you prepare the files for release? Full transparency. No gatekeeping. She hesitated, then nodded. 2 nights later, Elon Musk sat alone in a recording room. No lights. No production crew. Just one 8K camera. He looked into the lens and said, what if I told you aging is not just a process, but a dialogue? A back and forth between your body and the world it lives in. And what if we've just been speaking the wrong language, eating the wrong code? I've spent the last 30 days rewriting that code. And what I've found, changes everything. He paused. Then leaned in. There are 3 foods. One from the sea. One from the root. One from the coldest place I've ever stood. This is not a secret. It's a beginning. When the video dropped, it broke the internet. In under 3 hours, it had 22 million views. By the next day, it was being discussed on every news network across 3 continents. Some hailed him as a pioneer. Others called it another billionaire stunt. But one thing was undeniable. Elon Musk looked different. Stronger. Sharper. Younger. And no one could explain why. Except him. In the shadows, Project PX went quiet. In boardrooms across the world, CEOs began whispering about nutritional IP and biogenic patents. And somewhere, Grace Holloway turned off her burner phone and disappeared into a private jet registered in the Cayman Islands. She wasn't done yet. It began with disbelief. Then, almost immediately, with obsession. Elon's video, simply titled Trinity, was viewed over 80 million times in 48 hours. News anchors quoted it line by line. TikTokers reenacted it. Celebrities stitched it. Wellness gurus tried to decode every second, pausing on freeze frames, measuring his posture, the subtle glow in his skin, the tone in his voice. The man who had launched rockets and driven the EV revolution had now said something even more radical. Aging isn't a curse. It's a system error. And we just found the patch. Mainstream media split clean down the middle. CNN led with, is Elon Musk really reversing his age? Scientists react to viral video. Fox News. Musk claims he found anti-aging superfoods. Experts warn of nutritional cult. The New York Times ran a thoughtful long-form piece. From Mars to mitochondria, Elon Musk's pursuit of longevity. And the Joe Rogan Experience released an emergency episode where Joe and a biohacker named Laird speculated about the third food. I bet it's from the moon. Or maybe an ayahuasca tree. Meanwhile, doctors, nutritionists, and longevity researchers scrambled to respond. Dr. Emil Kovac, a cellular aging expert from Harvard, gave a live statement. The foods Musk mentions have known bioactive properties. Sea moss is rich in iodine and rare minerals. Dandelion root is anti-inflammatory. And as for this Arctic tree, we don't have the data. But if his biomarkers are legit, we're looking at a biological milestone. But it wasn't the experts who tipped the scales. It was the people. Seniors across the country began asking their children to Google Arctic sea moss. Searches for fermented dandelion root spiked 6,000% on Amazon. Wellness forums turned into digital gold rushes. Can anyone get a sample of that tree bark? Where do I find legit Icelandic lion's tooth? I'll trade Dogecoin for Arctic spores. Some tried to DIY the protocol based on partial information. Others waited for the full release, believing Musk would keep his word. At Site Echo, Rachel, Jean Wu, and the core team worked around the clock. Elon had ordered it himself. Full public blueprint. Free. Open source. Just like Tesla's patents. They began preparing a document unlike anything ever published. A living protocol that explained the what, the how, and, most importantly, the why of each of the three pillars. But the world wouldn't wait. On day 41, someone tried to break into the Norwegian forest where Luminous Arbor still stood. They brought chainsaws. They didn't make it back down the mountain. No one said if it was nature or human hands that stopped them. But word got out fast, don't touch the glowing tree. In Los Angeles, an 84-year-old former aerospace engineer named Walter Browning posted a video on YouTube. In it, he held a single mason jar with home-fermented dandelion root, tears in his eyes. I just want one more year where I don't feel like I'm falling apart. Not rich. Not famous. Just, tired of hurting. If Musk found something that helps, I'll try it. I'll try anything. His video went viral. Millions of older Americans, and people around the world, left comments. Not trolling. Not memes. Just honest confessions of pain. I want to dance with my wife again. I want to pick up my grandson without pain. I want to wake up without fear. Elon watched in silence. He was in the meditation pod, reviewing footage on a hollow display. Beside him sat his mother, May Musk. Elegant. Sharp as ever. But with a softness in her eyes. You really think this could help people like me? She asked gently. He turned to her. It already is. She gave a small smile. Then promise me one thing. What? Don't let them take it away. Because they were trying. Project PX had gone quiet publicly, but behind the scenes, their lawyers filed a motion in The Hague to block the release of Elon's Trinity Protocol under claims of bioethical hazard and unregulated human experimentation. 3 senators in the U.S. introduced a bill to regulate unverified biological enhancement supplements after a pharmaceutical lobby sent them a 127-page dossier titled The Musk Risk. And an anonymous report, suspected to be Grace's doing, circulated inside government circles. The Trinity foods are real. And if released, they will collapse multi-billion-dollar segments of the aging, supplement, and pharmaceutical industries overnight. Rachel got the message at 3:17 a.m. It was just one sentence. You're being watched. Finish the upload. She didn't know who sent it. But she didn't hesitate. The next day, the full Trinity Protocol went live. Free. Open. Peer-reviewed by a coalition of rogue academics and whistleblower scientists. Within 24 hours, it was downloaded 9.2 million times. By seniors. Nurses. Veterans. Athletes. Caregivers. Farmers. Moms. It wasn't a fad anymore. It was a movement. And then came the challenge. A public message from Elon, posted on every platform he controlled. In 90 days, I will stand on stage. In front of the world. And let any independent medical team test every part of me. Blood. Brain. Bone. If I'm wrong, I'll say so. But if I'm right, you'll know the truth. The day after Elon's post, the world was in a frenzy. It wasn't just about the Trinity Protocol anymore. It wasn't just the foods, the trees, or the promise of reversing aging. It was about proof. Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, had just given the greatest wager of his life. In 90 days, he would let the world's best medical team examine him, inside and out. The message was clear: either he was the answer to aging, or he was a fraud. And everyone was watching. At Site Echo, the team scrambled. Rachel was overseeing the final steps of their document upload. Hundreds of scientists from various fields had already begun cross-referencing, analyzing, and challenging the details of the protocol. They were prepared to defend it, but Rachel knew that no matter how airtight their research was, the world would remain skeptical. Meanwhile, Jean Wu and the lab team were double-checking their data for a possible final review. They had already sent preliminary samples to select hospitals and independent labs around the globe. They needed to prove that the Trinity Protocol wasn't just a fantastical dream, it had to be irrefutable science. Elon was calm as ever. Maybe even more so. Every day, he followed the protocol to the letter. He ate the 3 foods at precisely the same times. He meditated. He exercised in the lab. He stayed ahead of the media storm with calculated silence, letting the storm swirl outside while he remained focused. But no one on the team could ignore the mounting pressure. As day 30 passed, global scrutiny reached an unprecedented level. A media coalition formed, led by health journalists, critics, and biohacking influencers, all demanding answers. Musk's anti-aging promise: is he lying to you? The Musk Protocol: a cure or a scam? Trinity Foods under the microscope: experts weigh in. On social media, the divide between the true believers and the skeptics grew ever wider. Musk is doing what no one else has dared. This is just another billionaire ego trip. He's not even aging. It's the publicity stunt of the century. The first signs of real confrontation came when a scientist from a renowned anti-aging company, Dr. Sandra Fields, took to the Today Show to publicly dispute Musk's claims. There's no basis in credible science for his protocol, Dr. Fields argued. It's a dangerous oversimplification of the aging process. No single food can reverse decades of cellular decay. What Musk is suggesting is not only unsupported, it's irresponsible. The camera zoomed in on her as she fired back at the camera. This isn't science. It's a social media ploy. A distraction from real research. And we, the scientific community, will not let it go unchallenged. Elon watched it live. He didn't flinch. He had expected it. The response came a few hours later, from the CEO of Longevity Labs, Alexander Rain. He was one of Musk's more vocal critics. Musk wants us to believe that a few obscure superfoods can turn back time. It's a dangerous narrative to spread, especially for vulnerable populations who might buy into this. In his statement, he demanded that Musk release his full health data and undergo peer-reviewed trials before any conclusions were drawn. By day 50, the calls for Elon to publicly submit to testing were louder than ever. The world's most respected researchers were pushing to verify his claims. But the time was coming. The 90-day countdown had begun. Rachel was in the lab, staring at her laptop. Her phone buzzed on the desk, and she answered without looking. "Rachel, we need to talk," Elon's voice came through the line. "I'm doing it. But we're going to make sure it's real. No funny business." Rachel sat up straight. She'd heard that tone before. "What are you talking about?" "I'm about to show them the other side of the protocol. We're not just presenting the science and the tests. We're showing them my results, everything." She paused. "Wait, you're going to let them examine you fully?" "Yes." Rachel's heart raced. "Elon, if you do this, there's no going back. Once they get the results, good or bad, it will change everything." "I know. That's the point." Days later, Elon Musk stood before a team of the most renowned doctors, scientists, and biochemists in the world, in an undisclosed location. This was not a press event. No cameras. No fanfare. Just raw data. The 90-day evaluation had begun. His body was about to be examined with precision. Blood tests. Heart scans. Bone density readings. Everything. They'd measure his age at the cellular level, comparing every metric against his baseline before he started the Trinity Protocol. Every step of the journey had led to this. The lab doors shut behind them. The team prepared their equipment, scanning the full spectrum of tests. Rachel paced outside, waiting for results. As the hours passed, Elon meditated in the corner, calm, grounded, his usual aura of unshakable confidence radiating through the sterile white walls. He was ready. And as the 90th day drew to a close, the world's most critical health data was sent to a global, live-streamed event. An event where Elon Musk would finally show the truth. Would it prove him right? Would the Trinity Protocol change the world of aging as we know it? Or would it fall apart like so many ambitious experiments before? The day had arrived. Elon Musk stood on the stage, poised and calm, as the entire world waited. The countdown clock, ticking down behind him, displayed just minutes remaining until the most anticipated moment of the decade, the unveiling of the results. Is this the future of aging? Can the world's richest man truly defy the natural laws of time? The questions had consumed the media, filled the tabloids, flooded every corner of the internet. For 90 days, the public had speculated, argued, and analyzed every shred of information they could get their hands on. And now, here they were, the moment of truth. The auditorium was packed. Medical professionals, scientists, celebrities, biohackers, influencers, journalists, and members of the public all gathered in front of massive screens. In satellite rooms, others tuned in virtually, holding their breath as the live stream began. Rachel, Jean Wu, and the rest of the Site Echo team were watching from the command center. The feedback loop was live, every move, every breath Elon took was being scrutinized in real time. Inside the auditorium, Elon Musk was surrounded by a team of doctors, holding his medical data. He wore a sleek black suit, but his expression remained calm, serene even. There was no hint of nervousness. It was as if he already knew the outcome. He turned toward the audience, smiling faintly. Today, we've come to an end of an experiment that has captured the attention of the world. But this is not just about me. It's about what we can accomplish when we push the boundaries of what's possible. What we've learned can change the future of aging for everyone. The crowd was silent, hanging on every word. Then, Elon Musk took a deep breath and nodded to his team. The first data set appeared on the massive screen behind him. It showed Elon's baseline, his health metrics prior to beginning the Trinity Protocol. Age, 52. Blood pressure, 135/85. Cholesterol levels, 215 mg per deciliter. Bone density, 85%. Testosterone levels, 330 ing/dl. Overall cellular age, 52, calculated by telomere length. These numbers were expected. They were consistent with someone of Elon's age, health-conscious lifestyle, and high stress levels due to his demanding career. But that was before. Now, the numbers began to change. As Elon's blood work was shown on the screen, the first set of tests was read aloud. Dr. Rebecca Lee, a leading telomere researcher and one of the scientists brought in to verify the results, stood up to explain. Elon's telomere length, the DNA markers that determine aging at the cellular level, has shown a significant change. Telomeres shorten as we age. But after just 90 days of adhering to the Trinity Protocol, his telomeres have grown by 8.6%. The audience erupted into stunned silence. Elon smiled slightly but remained composed. That's just one aspect. There's more. The next segment flashed across the screen. Inflammation levels. Baseline, 4.2, high. After 90 days, 1.8, low. Bone density. Baseline, 85%. After 90 days, 93%. Testosterone levels. Baseline, 330 ing/dl. After 90 days, 450 ing/dl. And then, the ultimate test. Overall cellular age. Before, 52. After, 45. The room went silent again. The numbers were staggering. Elon Musk had reversed his biological age by 7 years in just 90 days. His inflammation had reduced. His bones were denser. His energy levels had surged. And his cells were younger than when he began. For the first time in history, someone had demonstrated a method to not only halt the aging process but reverse it, to slow down the clock of human life itself. A panel of independent scientists, chosen specifically for this event, were brought on stage to evaluate the results. The room was heavy with anticipation. These experts had spent the last several hours reviewing the data in full. Dr. Sandra Fields, one of Elon's harshest critics, stepped forward first. Her face was unreadable. "I stand here today not as a skeptic, but as a scientist. I never thought I would see results like this. These are not minor changes. This is unprecedented. And while I can't fully explain every aspect of the protocol yet, there is no doubt these results are real." The crowd held its breath as she paused. The truth is, Musk has just changed the way we think about aging. His claim may not be a cure, but it's a breakthrough, one that demands further study. We will have to investigate this protocol, replicate it, and learn from it. Outside the auditorium, the world was buzzing. News stations were already broadcasting the results. Social media was alive with reactions. Musk just proved that aging isn't inevitable. Is this the future of health and longevity? If it works for him, it can work for us. In retirement homes, wellness centers, and hospitals across the globe, seniors watched in awe. Many of them had spent years watching their bodies deteriorate, wondering if there would ever be a way out. And now, the hope that had once seemed impossible was suddenly real. Back at Site Echo, Rachel allowed herself a moment to breathe. She'd known the data inside and out, but seeing it presented this way, in front of the world, was another thing entirely. Her phone buzzed. A message from Elon: "We did it." She smiled and typed back, "You did it. We all did." The Trinity Protocol was no longer just an idea. It was a reality. But while the world marveled, there was still the looming question: what next? If the Trinity Protocol could reverse aging in one person, could it do the same for the millions who needed it? Could it be scaled? And who controlled the information now that it had been released to the world? The room went silent again. The numbers were staggering. Elon Musk had reversed his biological age by 7 years in just 90 days. His inflammation had reduced. His bones were denser. His energy levels had surged. And his cells were younger than when he began. For the first time in history, someone had demonstrated a method to not only halt the aging process but reverse it, to slow down the clock of human life itself. A panel of independent scientists, chosen specifically for this event, were brought on stage to evaluate the results. The room was heavy with anticipation. These experts had spent the last several hours reviewing the data in full. Dr. Sandra Fields, one of Elon's harshest critics, stepped forward first. Her face was unreadable. "I stand here today not as a skeptic, but as a scientist. I never thought I would see results like this. These are not minor changes. This is unprecedented. And while I can't fully explain every aspect of the protocol yet, there is no doubt these results are real." The crowd held its breath as she paused. The truth is, Musk has just changed the way we think about aging. His claim may not be a cure, but it's a breakthrough, one that demands further study. We will have to investigate this protocol, replicate it, and learn from it. Outside the auditorium, the world was buzzing. News stations were already broadcasting the results. Social media was alive with reactions. Musk just proved that aging isn't inevitable. Is this the future of health and longevity? If it works for him, it can work for us. In retirement homes, wellness centers, and hospitals across the globe, seniors watched in awe. Many of them had spent years watching their bodies deteriorate, wondering if there would ever be a way out. And now, the hope that had once seemed impossible was suddenly real. Back at Site Echo, Rachel allowed herself a moment to breathe. She'd known the data inside and out, but seeing it presented this way, in front of the world, was another thing entirely. Her phone buzzed. A message from Elon: "We did it." She smiled and typed back, "You did it. We all did." The Trinity Protocol was no longer just an idea. It was a reality. But while the world marveled, there was still the looming question: what next? If the Trinity Protocol could reverse aging in one person, could it do the same for the millions who needed it? Could it be scaled? And who controlled the information now that it had been released to the world? Elon had already promised that the data would remain open source, free for everyone. But not everyone agreed. Powerful interests in the pharmaceutical and supplement industries were already pushing back, some in covert ways. The backlash was brewing, quiet, but inevitable. The race for the future of human longevity had only just begun. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? The world had just witnessed something extraordinary. The live-streamed reveal of Elon Musk's anti-aging results had ignited a global firestorm. The Trinity Protocol wasn't just a fleeting viral sensation, it was now an undeniable phenomenon. Headlines screamed with excitement, social media was flooded with praise, and millions of people from all corners of the globe started questioning their own assumptions about aging. But, as always, when something as revolutionary as this emerges, there's a counterforce. And it was starting to move. Within hours of Elon's announcement, the pharmaceutical industry began to respond, but not with applause. Behind the scenes, top executives from the world's largest companies were meeting. For decades, they had profited from the multi-billion-dollar market for aging-related treatments, anti-aging creams, dietary supplements, experimental drugs, and the like. Elon's Trinity Protocol threatened everything they had worked for. Dr. Jonathan Harrison, CEO of Neothera Pharmaceuticals, made his stance clear in an interview with CNBC the following morning. What Musk is proposing is nothing short of reckless. He's taking the very foundation of human biology and oversimplifying it into a quick-fix diet. His claim that 3 foods can reverse aging is not only unsupported by science, it could lead people down a dangerous path. We need to remember that there's a reason we've spent years developing treatments that go through proper clinical trials. Neothera was one of the largest pharmaceutical companies specializing in age-related diseases. They had already poured billions into researching their own age reversal treatments, but their path was slow, meticulous, and controlled. Now, Musk's open-source protocol threatened to disrupt the entire medical landscape, and they didn't like it. Elon's model was fast, open, and transparent. It removed the barriers and gatekeepers that the pharmaceutical companies had so carefully put in place. There was no longer any waiting for FDA approval or clinical trials. The future of age reversal was now something anyone could try, and that was a problem for those invested in the old system. Among the many critics, Dr. Sandra Fields, the scientist who had first denounced the Trinity Protocol on the Today Show, continued her campaign. As a leading expert in gerontology, she was used to defending the traditional scientific process, and she wasn't about to let a tech billionaire change the course of aging research. Musk's data is curious, she told a panel on PBS NewsHour. But data alone isn't enough. We need longitudinal studies. We need rigor. And we need evidence that this protocol works beyond one person, especially in people who aren't Elon Musk. her criticisms gained traction, especially among other respected scientists. The debate quickly escalated into a battle between the established scientific community and the emerging biohacker movement, with Musk at the center of it. As the pushback grew stronger, so did the media's fascination with the growing divide. Coverage of the Trinity Protocol had dominated news outlets across the globe, but now, the story was starting to shift. The tone was no longer just about excitement and wonder, it was becoming a war of narratives. Biotech blogs and online influencers, many of whom had initially championed Musk's success, began to question his motives. The once solid group of Musk supporters began to fracture. Were the results really as legitimate as they seemed, or had Musk carefully curated them to fit his grand vision? At the same time, Elon's silence, a deliberate decision on his part, began to fuel the fire. The billionaire had said his piece, shown the data, and left it to others to interpret. As expected, he wasn't about to engage directly with his critics. His strategy was clear: let the world decide for itself. Let the results speak. But as time went on, that silence started to look more like arrogance to some, and more like a conspiracy to others. The economic impact of the Trinity Protocol couldn't be understated. With the success of the protocol, traditional anti-aging products, from high-end creams to hormone therapy, saw their stock prices plummet. Major companies like Aging Life Sciences, known for its pricey anti-aging supplements, saw their shares take a massive hit. The sudden surge in interest for natural, scientifically backed anti-aging foods had reshuffled the market completely. But it wasn't just the pharmaceutical companies feeling the heat. Longevity startups, which had promised similar results but under more controlled conditions, now faced a stark reality: Elon Musk's Trinity Protocol had made them obsolete, at least, for now. Richard Moore, the CEO of Vita Longevity, a startup that had raised hundreds of millions in venture capital for its aging supplement technology, appeared on Bloomberg Business in a desperate bid to regain ground. The idea that 3 foods can replace decades of clinical research is an affront to science, Moore said, visibly frustrated. Elon Musk doesn't get to rewrite the rules of biology. People need real, tested solutions, not gimmicks. Despite the pushback from powerful interests, there was an undeniable surge in public support for the Trinity Protocol. Everywhere, people were asking the same question: could this actually work? At retirement homes across the United States, seniors who had watched the results in disbelief were now experimenting with the foods themselves. Communities of biohackers were forming, trading tips, sharing results, and creating online support networks to try out the protocol. Social media influencers were sharing their own transformation stories, some claiming significant improvements in skin health, energy levels, and overall vitality. Suddenly, aging, once a silent and inevitable force, was now being discussed openly, with hope replacing resignation. People were starting to believe that they could take control of their own biology. It was clear, the world was at a crossroads. On one side, there was Elon Musk and his bold vision for the future, an open-source, democratic approach to anti-aging. On the other, there was the established scientific and pharmaceutical community, determined to maintain their authority and control over the aging process. The battle lines were drawn, and every day, the fight between innovation and tradition seemed to grow more intense. The world was changing. It wasn't just in the labs or boardrooms anymore. The impact of Elon Musk's Trinity Protocol had infiltrated every aspect of society. What had begun as an experiment, a challenge set forth by one of the world's most brilliant minds, was now the spark that lit a global movement. Across continents, from the sunlit beaches of California to the bustling streets of Tokyo, people were beginning to ask the same question: what if we could reverse the aging process? What if it wasn't just a distant dream, a far-off fantasy reserved for science fiction? What if it was here, today, for everyone? The answer was starting to take shape. While the scientific community argued about the legitimacy of Elon's results, it was the everyday people who were beginning to feel the transformation. Word spread quickly, and the once elite protocol was now becoming accessible to anyone willing to give it a try. In a small town in the Midwest, Linda Roberts, a 68-year-old retired schoolteacher, was the first in her family to try the protocol. Linda had lived a quiet, comfortable life, but the years of stress, unhealthy eating habits, and the inevitable march of time had taken their toll. She felt tired all the time, her joints ached, and she had lost the energy she once had. But after watching Elon's reveal, Linda decided to take the plunge. For 90 days, she committed herself to the 3 foods: wild salmon, spinach, and blueberries. At first, there were no immediate signs of improvement. But by the end of the first month, Linda noticed something subtle. She felt more awake in the mornings, her energy was higher, and even her skin looked a little brighter. By the end of the 90-day challenge, Linda felt like a new woman. She was walking with ease, no longer needing her pain medications for joint discomfort. Her friends began noticing the difference too. When she posted about her transformation on social media, others in her community began asking her what her secret was. And just like that, the ripple effect had begun. Across social media platforms, a powerful movement began to take shape. Biohackers, health enthusiasts, and even those who had never given much thought to their aging process before were now experimenting with the Trinity Protocol. In the digital world, influencers were jumping on board. YouTube stars like Matt Parker, a fitness guru with millions of subscribers, posted videos documenting his 90-day journey. At first, his followers were skeptical, but as the days passed, something undeniable started to show. Matt's energy was through the roof. His workouts became more intense, his muscles more defined. By the end of the 90 days, he looked visibly younger, his skin clearer, his posture improved, and his stamina unmatched. The video went viral. Comments poured in from all over the globe, with viewers sharing their own experiences and asking for tips. Some were skeptical, others were hopeful, but all were intrigued. In the following weeks, the hashtag Trinity Challenge trended worldwide. People of all ages, backgrounds, and professions posted their before and after photos, their stories of transformation. The narrative was no longer about a billionaire's success, it was about empowerment. The average person was starting to believe that they, too, could defy the natural course of aging. But as the momentum grew, so did the resistance. Dr. Sandra Fields, the outspoken critic of Musk's protocol, hadn't let up. On national television, she doubled down, warning the public about the dangers of jumping on the bandwagon too quickly. These are anecdotal results at best. There is no scientific evidence to back up the widespread use of these foods as a cure for aging. We need controlled trials, long-term studies, not viral challenges. Her words resonated with a significant portion of the medical community. Leading physicians and researchers began to express their concerns that people were putting their faith in something unproven and possibly dangerous. Meanwhile, pharmaceutical companies continued to play the long game, pushing their own anti-aging products and therapies. Despite their efforts to undermine Musk's claims, there was no denying the rising tide of public interest in a more natural, accessible solution to aging. As the conversation continued to swirl around the Trinity Protocol, government agencies began to take notice. Regulatory bodies like the FDA and WHO began issuing statements, carefully treading the line between caution and endorsement. While they stopped short of approving the Trinity Protocol outright, they recognized the potential of the science behind it and pledged to investigate further. Health ministers from countries around the world met in Brussels to discuss the new wave of interest in aging science and how to respond. "We cannot ignore what's happening," said Maria Gutierrez, a senior health official in the European Union. "The conversation about aging is no longer theoretical, it's practical, and it's happening right now." In the United States, the National Institute on Aging launched a review into the protocol's components, including its impact on telomere length and cellular age. The government had to balance public safety with the undeniable shift in public interest. Would they stifle innovation to protect the status quo, or would they embrace this new frontier in health? Amidst the chaos, Elon Musk remained quiet. He wasn't posting updates on social media or responding to critics. Instead, He focused on what mattered most, the data. Elon's team continued to gather real-time results from participants around the world, feeding the information back into the system. He made sure that the data was transparent, open, and accessible for anyone who wanted to see it. While others criticized the lack of long-term trials, Elon's response was simple: the world didn't need decades of bureaucracy to begin acting. This was about immediate, actionable change. The future was now. He had set the stage for a revolution, but it wasn't going to be without resistance. For the millions of people who had embraced the Trinity Protocol, there was no turning back. It was no longer just about eating certain foods, it was about taking control of their health, their futures, and their bodies. The choices they made, every meal, every step, were no longer dictated by a prescription or a commercial. They were choosing a life where aging wasn't inevitable. And as the aging revolution gained ground, it wasn't just about looking younger, it was about living better. As the buzz around the Trinity Protocol continued to grow, something began to shift. The initial wave of excitement, the thrill of trying something new and transformative, began to fade into the more sobering reality of long-term commitment. As millions of people around the world jumped on board, the true test of the Trinity Protocol began. It wasn't just about feeling better after a few weeks. Now, the question was: could it last? For many, the initial results were undeniable. Seniors who had long struggled with chronic pain, low energy, and deteriorating health were now seeing improvements. A woman in her 70s could walk without pain. A man in his 80s was able to get out of bed without assistance. But the enthusiasm was beginning to wane for others. John Davis, a 71-year-old retired engineer from Boston, was one of the first to report a drop in energy after his initial improvement. "I felt great for the first month. I couldn't believe how good I felt," John said in a phone call to the growing Trinity Protocol support group on Facebook. "But after 2 months, I started to feel sluggish again. It's like I hit a wall." John wasn't alone. A number of other participants began to report similar issues. While they had experienced positive changes early on, they were now feeling the limitations of the protocol. The magic seemed to wear off. Was the Trinity Protocol really sustainable in the long run, or was it just a temporary boost? As reports of diminishing results started to surface, the critics, many of whom had initially been skeptical, began to rally. Dr. Sandra Fields, once again, found herself in the spotlight. On a live-stream debate with a prominent biohacker who had followed the protocol for months, she articulated the growing concern. "The problem we're seeing here is not the protocol itself, it's the way it's being marketed as a miracle. Aging is complex, and it's different for everyone. What works for some might not work for others. The fact that these results are not consistent across the board suggests that we're dealing with a very superficial solution." She wasn't wrong. While the 3 foods, salmon, spinach, and blueberries, had undeniable benefits in terms of nutritional value, there was no universal fix for aging. Aging wasn't just about food. It was about genetics, environment, lifestyle choices, and other health conditions that couldn't be solved with diet alone. Dr. Harrison, CEO of Neothera Pharmaceuticals, took the opportunity to double down on his previous critique. "This entire movement is based on oversimplification. Aging is too complex to be reduced to a food protocol. The effects we're seeing are temporary at best. As the body adapts, the benefits will naturally diminish." Despite his warnings, the Trinity Protocol wasn't slowing down. More and more people continued to follow it, driven by the hope of slowing or even reversing their biological clock. But those who had seen early success were beginning to wonder if it was enough. As the debate between critics and advocates raged on, the longevity industry found itself at a crossroads. On one side, there were those who supported Musk's disruptive approach. They saw the Trinity Protocol as a step toward breaking down the barriers of traditional medicine and unlocking the potential for holistic aging solutions. On the other side were the companies that stood to lose billions if the Trinity Protocol became widely adopted. For them, proven methods, from stem cell therapies to hormone treatments, were far more lucrative and tested. These companies weren't about to let a few success stories from ordinary people derail their business model. Richard Moore, the CEO of Vita Longevity, voiced his frustrations to the Wall Street Journal. Elon Musk is playing a dangerous game. He's using his wealth and influence to push a diet plan as a form of agelessness. What happens when it doesn't work? What happens when people start getting disappointed? We'll be left with the consequences of a movement based on little more than hype. For now, however, there was no denying the growing grassroots support for Musk's model. The movement had taken on a life of its own, and people were starting to look for other ways to enhance their lives, to continue the momentum the protocol had sparked. The biggest question now was not about the short-term success of the protocol, it was about sustainability. As people began to ask for more from the Trinity Protocol, they found themselves faced with the reality that no single solution could truly solve the complexities of aging. Elon Musk, still silent in the face of growing criticism, had long prepared for this. He knew that no movement this bold would come without challenges. The question was never whether the protocol could change lives, it was whether it could sustain a global transformation in the long run. As the 90-day mark passed, many participants noticed the same phenomenon. Initial improvements were plateauing. Some reverted to old habits, feeling the protocol didn't provide the lasting, life-changing effects they had hoped for. Musk, however, had a plan in place. Behind the scenes, his team was already working on version 2.0 of the Trinity Protocol, a refined approach that could address the challenges of long-term effectiveness. The new protocol would incorporate additional components, exercise routines, stress management techniques, and sleep optimization. The goal was to create a comprehensive lifestyle approach that tackled aging from multiple angles, not just through food. As more data was gathered and analyzed, it became clear that the Trinity Protocol, in its original form, wasn't a one-size-fits-all solution. But that didn't mean it was a failure. It was the first step in a much broader conversation about personalized aging strategies. Ones that could be tailored to the unique needs of each individual. Some people needed more than just diet. Others might require a combination of therapies. But the main takeaway from the movement was this: aging wasn't inevitable. With the right mindset and approach, it could be slowed, mitigated, or even partially reversed. And, perhaps most importantly, people had control. The debate around Elon Musk's Trinity Protocol had reached a critical juncture. The early enthusiasm was waning, replaced by a deeper, more profound questioning of the long-term effects of the diet. As skeptics and supporters alike watched from the sidelines, a new development began to unfold, a shift in perspective that was not only about reversing the aging process but about embracing a new era of health. The Trinity Protocol wasn't the silver bullet for everyone, but it had triggered a larger transformation in the way people approached aging. Health wasn't just something that happened to you as you grew older. It was something that could be actively managed, nurtured, and even improved. The question was no longer about finding a cure, it was about developing a holistic lifestyle that combined the best of modern science, ancient wisdom, and personal responsibility. For decades, aging had been seen as an inevitable decline. People were often resigned to the idea that aging meant loss of mobility, of energy, of independence. But now, thanks to the spark ignited by Elon Musk's protocol, an alternative narrative was beginning to emerge. Aging was no longer a predetermined fate. Instead, it was a challenge, one that could be met with a combination of diet, exercise, mental wellness, and even cutting-edge biotechnology. This new era of health wasn't about denying the process of aging, it was about embracing it in a way that allowed people to live fuller, healthier, and longer lives. One of the first proponents of this holistic approach was Dr. Richard Stein, a well-known gerontologist who had spent his career studying aging. Initially skeptical of Musk's protocol, he had come around to the idea that maybe there was a piece of the puzzle missing in traditional gerontology. In an interview with the New York Times, Dr. Stein explained, "What we're seeing with the Trinity Protocol isn't just about a dietary shift, it's part of a larger cultural movement. People are starting to ask different questions. How can I live my best life at 60, 70, or 80? How can I feel good, not just look young, but feel healthy in mind and body? Dr. Stein was one of many experts who saw this shift as a sign of progress. The dialogue was evolving from a narrow focus on longevity to a more holistic understanding of what it meant to age gracefully. As the Trinity Protocol gained a foothold, it was clear that it wasn't a one-size-fits-all solution. People were beginning to experiment with different variations of the protocol, tweaking it to suit their individual needs. And that was just the beginning. Elon Musk had always said that the future of health wasn't just about one breakthrough, it was about building on multiple innovations, learning from the old while embracing the new. His vision for the future involved integrating the latest scientific advancements in genetics, biotechnology, and artificial intelligence with more traditional, natural health practices. It wasn't about replacing one with the other, it was about creating a symbiotic relationship between the two. A key part of Musk's vision for this new era of health involved the growing use of personalized health technologies. Wearable devices, genetic testing, and AI-driven health assessments were quickly becoming commonplace. More people were using advanced apps that monitored everything from their sleep patterns to their glucose levels, enabling them to make real-time adjustments to their diets, exercise routines, and stress management strategies. Companies like NeuroHealth and Biotech Innovations were leading the charge, developing sophisticated tools that provided personalized insights into how each individual's body responded to aging. These technologies were no longer just for the elite, they were becoming accessible to the average person, empowering individuals to take control of their health like never before. Elon Musk's companies were also playing a significant role in this space, with Neuralink offering the promise of connecting the brain to advanced computer systems, and SpaceX's research into human health in space opening up new possibilities for improving human longevity. It seemed that every aspect of Musk's empire was converging on the same mission, to extend human potential. As more people began adopting this comprehensive approach to aging, a new movement began to emerge, one that focused not just on longevity, but on the quality of life. It wasn't enough to simply add years to your life, it was about adding life to your years. In cities around the world, new communities began to form, where people of all ages shared the same goal, living well into their 90s and beyond, with energy, vitality, and independence. These were not the traditional retirement communities where elderly people spent their days in isolation. These were dynamic, health-focused communities that embraced a new definition of aging. They incorporated not just the physical aspects of health, but also mental and emotional wellness, which were now seen as equally important. One such community was founded in Santa Barbara, where a group of individuals ranging in age from 50 to 80 came together to create a living space designed specifically for those embracing the new health paradigm. The members of the community followed a personalized version of the Trinity Protocol but also incorporated a strong focus on meditation, cognitive exercises, and social engagement. The success of these communities proved that the Trinity Protocol, when paired with other lifestyle changes, could offer more than just physical improvements, it could help create a sense of belonging and purpose in older age, things that many people had been missing for years. However, despite the growing excitement and the success stories, challenges remained. While the idea of aging as an active, manageable process was gaining popularity, there was still resistance from certain corners of society. Pharmaceutical companies, traditional health organizations, and even some government bodies continued to push for more research before fully endorsing such a radical shift in health practices. Dr. Maria Gutierrez, an influential figure in the field of public health, echoed many of the concerns. "We must be cautious," she stated in a recent interview. "Aging is a natural process, and while technology offers incredible possibilities, we cannot lose sight of the fact that some of these interventions are still in their infancy. We need a balanced approach, one that combines science, regulation, and ethics." Even within the movement, not everyone agreed on how to proceed. There were growing debates about the commercialization of the protocol and the ethical implications of making such a potentially life-changing tool available to the masses. For Elon Musk, the journey was far from over. He knew that the Trinity Protocol was just the beginning. As his companies continued to push boundaries in space exploration, artificial intelligence, and genetic research, Musk envisioned a future where aging could be not just slowed but potentially reversed through gene editing and other advanced technologies. He saw this new era of health as one step toward creating a world where everyone, regardless of age, could reach their full potential. In a recent statement, he said, "The goal isn't just to add years to life. It's to make sure every single day is as vibrant and fulfilling as possible. We're not just improving longevity, we're improving the human experience." And with that, Musk set his sights on the next frontier, creating a world where every age was the best age. By now, the world had fully embraced the Trinity Protocol, or at least, its underlying philosophy. What started as a small, grassroots movement sparked by Elon Musk's outlandish claims about aging had now blossomed into a global revolution. With millions following the simple dietary protocol, a new way of thinking about aging was emerging everywhere. At its core, the movement was about more than just eating 3 specific foods. It was about challenging long-standing beliefs, encouraging people to take control of their health, and rejecting the notion that aging was inevitable. Musk's idea was simple: if people could redefine aging, they could redefine the future of humanity. From the streets of Tokyo to the boulevards of Paris, the Trinity Protocol had become a household name. In major cities across the globe, there were public events, online forums, and even dedicated television programs discussing the benefits of the protocol. People who had once been hesitant about embracing change now flocked to it, eager to join a growing community committed to healthier aging. Social media was awash with success stories. People shared photos of themselves before and after the protocol, showing dramatic transformations. Some were motivated by weight loss, others by newfound energy and clarity. Testimonials flooded platforms like Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, where the movement gained massive traction among older demographics who were finally seeing real, tangible results. But it wasn't just individuals sharing their experiences. Even major health influencers and nutritionists who had initially been skeptical about Musk's bold claims now found themselves increasingly convinced of the protocol's benefits. As more data poured in, they began to speak about the powerful nutritional synergy of salmon, spinach, and blueberries, an alliance of omega-3s, antioxidants, and phytonutrients that could work wonders on aging cells. The Trinity Protocol had become more than a diet. It was a global philosophy that united people in their pursuit of vitality, strength, and longevity. Elon Musk's concept was revolutionary in its simplicity. He had found a way to distill the complex science of aging into an easily digestible formula. The Trinity Protocol wasn't just about eating the right foods, it was about empowering individuals to make decisions about their health with the same level of precision as they would in business or technology. At the same time, new technological advances were rapidly catching up. Smart devices, fitness trackers, and health apps were giving people access to personalized data like never before. Biometric sensors tracked everything from sleep patterns to heart rate variability, giving individuals the tools they needed to monitor their aging process in real time. People were no longer just following the Trinity Protocol, they were optimizing it. Some combined it with tailored fitness regimens, others incorporated biohacking methods. The combination of personal data and the simple protocol had created a hyper-individualized health movement that allowed for precise customization. In Berlin, a group of early adopters launched the first-ever Global Trinity Health Retreat, where attendees from across the world could gather to compare notes, share progress, and take part in workshops. These retreats combined the protocol with the latest findings in genetic health, stress reduction techniques, and personalized nutrition. The experience left attendees not just rejuvenated but deeply inspired by the idea of living well into their later years. For many, the Trinity Protocol offered an alternative to the traditional retirement model. Seniors were no longer expected to fade into obscurity or rely on conventional medications. Instead, they began to see themselves as active participants in the shaping of their future. It wasn't just about avoiding decline, it was about thriving. Helen McAllister, a 68-year-old from San Francisco, shared her story on a widely watched live stream. "Before the Trinity Protocol, I felt like my body was giving out on me. I was constantly tired and dealing with aches and pains. But now, I'm doing things I never thought possible. I've started hiking, and my energy levels have skyrocketed. Helen's story wasn't unique. Everywhere, people over 60 were discovering newfound vitality, their lives no longer confined by a number on a calendar. Instead, they were charting a course toward longevity, guided by a philosophy that placed their health and well-being at the center of their lives. In New York, Grandma Alice's group, a movement led by older women who had banded together to discuss health, aging, and wellness, had become a cornerstone of the global change. These women were living proof that age was no longer an obstacle but an opportunity to reinvent themselves. Many had started their own businesses, taking to social media to share their journey with others. Despite the overwhelming success, challenges were beginning to emerge. The rapid global adoption of the Trinity Protocol created new obstacles that no one had fully anticipated. For one, there was a significant supply and demand issue. The demand for high-quality salmon, blueberries, and spinach skyrocketed as millions of people began following the protocol. Fisheries couldn't keep up with the demand for wild-caught salmon, and farms were struggling to meet the need for organic spinach and blueberries. In many parts of the world, the quality of ingredients began to vary, creating concerns about how the movement could maintain its sustainability. Critics began pointing out that the protocol could only work if the foods consumed were grown in optimal conditions, something that wasn't always possible due to local environmental and economic factors. At the same time, corporate interests that had once dismissed the protocol as a passing trend now saw it as an opportunity to profit. Large companies began to commercialize the Trinity Protocol, selling overpriced supplements and pre-packaged meals that promised to deliver the same benefits. While some people embraced these products as convenient, others began to question whether the commercialization was undermining the purity and simplicity of Musk's original vision. Dr. Sandra Fields weighed in on the issue during an interview. "We have to be careful here. The original idea behind the Trinity Protocol was to give people agency over their own health. But as we see big business getting involved, we risk turning it into just another diet fad, losing sight of the deeper message." Elon Musk had always seen the long game. While he supported the growth of the movement, he wasn't naive to the challenges ahead. Behind closed doors, Musk's teams were working on refining the protocol, ensuring that it would remain adaptable and sustainable for years to come. In a rare public statement, Musk expressed his thoughts on the future. "The Trinity Protocol is just the beginning. We're not just changing how people age, we're changing how people think about their entire health trajectory. The next phase will involve integrating this approach with biotechnology, AI, and personalized medicine." Musk was also turning his focus to sustainability, planning future partnerships with agriculture and aquaculture experts to ensure the long-term viability of the food central to the protocol. As always, he was thinking several steps ahead, preparing for a future where the global adoption of the Trinity Protocol could truly change the way the world approached aging. As the world continued to embrace the Trinity Protocol, it became increasingly clear that the future of health was moving beyond the simple rules of diet and exercise. Personalized medicine, long thought of as a distant dream, was beginning to take shape in ways that would change the landscape of aging forever. At the heart of this revolution was Elon Musk's belief that individuals should have the power to control their health outcomes in a way that had never been possible before. Musk had already set the stage with the Trinity Protocol, a simple dietary regimen that combined science with nutrition, but now he was pivoting toward the next frontier, using biotechnology and artificial intelligence to customize the aging process itself. Personalized medicine was no longer just a buzzword. In the labs of Neuralink, SpaceX, and Musk's growing network of health ventures, a new era of customized treatments was taking shape. Musk's goal wasn't just to slow down the clock. It was to develop targeted therapies that could adjust the biological age of an individual based on their unique genetic and molecular profile. For years, doctors had followed a one-size-fits-all approach to aging, relying on generalized treatments that often failed to account for the unique genetic makeup of patients. Now, thanks to advances in genomic sequencing and AI-driven analytics, doctors and scientists could look at a person's genetic blueprint and create a treatment plan tailored to them, down to the very molecular level. Musk's companies were at the forefront of this shift. Neuralink's cutting-edge neural interfaces were already showing promise in helping people with neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's, while SpaceX's research on human health in space was exploring how to optimize the human body in extreme environments. The technology had the potential to extend beyond just treating diseases; it could fundamentally change how aging itself was understood and treated. While the world marveled at the idea of personal genetic treatments, it was the integration of artificial intelligence that took things to the next level. Musk's AI-driven systems could now analyze millions of data points in real time, providing doctors with a deep understanding of how an individual's body was aging and how to intervene. These AI systems could predict health risks, disease progression, and even suggest lifestyle changes before symptoms appeared. For example, instead of relying on routine checkups and general screenings, individuals could undergo genetic profiling and biometric assessments that would reveal their unique vulnerabilities, whether it be in their cardiovascular system, their immune function, or even their ability to regenerate cells. With this information in hand, treatments could be tailored to optimize health and prevent conditions before they manifested. One breakthrough that gained significant attention was epigenetic reprogramming, a process that aimed to reverse the epigenetic clock, the chemical changes that accumulate in DNA as people age. Early trials showed promising results. By adjusting specific genes, scientists were able to restore cellular function, effectively rewinding the biological clock. Musk's role in these innovations wasn't just as a financier; he was deeply involved in the ethical discussions around genetic interventions. He often spoke about how the future of medicine should not be limited to curing diseases, but also in enhancing the human body's natural abilities. The question was not, can we reverse aging, but rather, how far can we push the boundaries of human potential? Gene editing technologies like CRISPR-Cas9 were also beginning to play a pivotal role in the effort to slow or even reverse aging. By editing specific genes, scientists could eliminate the genetic risk factors that contributed to age-related diseases. What started as a way to fight genetic disorders quickly became a tool for aging. In an exclusive interview, Dr. Lin Zhao, a leading scientist at Neuralink's health division, explained how gene editing could one day allow humans to rewrite their genetic code to enhance longevity. "It's not just about preventing diseases anymore," she said. "It's about creating a world where the genetic code of aging can be rewritten, tailored to the individual." Musk, always a visionary, described the possibilities of this future. Imagine a world where every person's DNA is optimized for health, where aging is no longer inevitable, but something we can control and even reverse. That's the future we're building. One of the most promising applications of this technology was in the area of muscle regeneration. As people age, their muscles naturally lose strength and mass. But with gene editing, it became possible to stimulate muscle growth by activating specific genes responsible for tissue repair and regeneration. The results of early experiments showed that seniors who underwent these treatments were able to regain lost muscle mass and enhance physical performance. Despite the incredible promise, the road ahead was not without challenges. While the idea of personalized, gene-based therapies was revolutionary, many questions remained about their long-term effects. Ethical concerns also loomed large. Who decides who gets access to these treatments? What does it mean to edit human genes? And how would society handle the unequal distribution of this powerful technology? Musk understood the need for regulation and oversight but also recognized the urgency of moving forward. In a series of tweets, he stated, "Biotechnology has the potential to solve many of humanity's most pressing problems. But it's up to all of us to ensure that this progress is done responsibly, in a way that benefits everyone." While the ethical implications were still being worked through, Musk's companies were already laying the groundwork for a new era of healthcare access. They were collaborating with governments, private organizations, and universities to create a framework for how personalized medicine could be made available to the masses. As gene editing and epigenetic reprogramming became more refined, they also became more affordable, pushing the cost of these cutting-edge treatments down and making them accessible to more people. The once elusive promise of age reversal was now within reach for those willing to invest in their health. For Elon Musk, the future was clear: health and longevity would become a central focus of his work. The combination of personalized medicine, gene editing, and biotechnology would usher in a world where aging was no longer something to be feared. Instead, it would be something to be understood, managed, and even optimized. At a press conference for Neuralink, Musk laid out his vision: "We're not just aiming to extend life, we're aiming to make life better. Aging isn't just about surviving longer, it's about living healthier, stronger, and with greater vitality than ever before. Our goal is to give people the power to shape their own destinies, starting with their health." The world was on the brink of a new era, one where biotechnology was no longer reserved for the elite, but accessible to all. As Musk's companies continued to push the boundaries of what was possible, the lines between science fiction and science fact blurred. And in the process, a new world was taking shape, one where health was not just a destination but a lifelong journey. As the world continued to evolve, the profound impact of personalized medicine began to ripple through every corner of the globe. What had once seemed like an outlandish dream, tailoring healthcare to the individual, not just the disease, was now a global reality. People everywhere, from bustling cities to remote villages, were discovering the power of personalized treatments, transforming not only their health but their lives. Elon Musk, along with his network of innovators and visionaries, was at the center of this seismic shift. His company's relentless pursuit of cutting-edge technology had sparked a revolution, not just in how people thought about aging but in how they approached healthcare itself. The ripple effect of Musk's endeavors was felt most strongly in the healthcare systems of the world's largest nations. Governments, medical institutions, and private corporations were working together to build a new kind of global healthcare network, one that was focused on prevention, personalization, and empowerment. In the United States, hospitals and clinics began implementing new protocols that incorporated genetic testing, biometric assessments, and AI-driven diagnostics to create customized health plans for patients. Personalized treatments, which had once been reserved for the wealthy, were now becoming a standard of care. Around the world, from Canada to Australia, healthcare systems followed suit. In Europe, the United Kingdom, and Germany were among the first to integrate genomic medicine into their public health systems, offering citizens access to personalized health services at scale. In Japan, one of the countries with the longest life expectancy, personalized medicine became central to their approach to aging, with a focus on longevity and vitality. Elon Musk's companies, including Neuralink and Tesla, were working with international health organizations to bridge the gap between cutting-edge biotechnology and everyday healthcare access. In partnership with World Health Organization, WHO, Musk's ventures began developing infrastructure for providing personalized health services even in the most underserved areas of the world. While the infrastructure for these changes was growing, it wasn't always an easy journey. There were logistical hurdles to overcome, from the distribution of genetic testing kits to ensuring access to the necessary medical expertise. Still, the progress was undeniable. The vision of personalized medicine, where each person could receive a treatment plan tailored to their specific needs, was becoming reality. One of the most significant challenges was the cultural and societal barriers that existed in many parts of the world. In some countries, traditional medicine still dominated, and the idea of genetically personalized care was met with skepticism and resistance. In countries where people were hesitant to embrace modern biotechnology, Musk and his team worked with local leaders, doctors, and influencers to educate the public on the benefits of personalized medicine. Their goal wasn't just to promote technology but to build trust within communities, showing them that this new form of healthcare could work in harmony with traditional beliefs. One such breakthrough came in India, where the government partnered with Musk's team to launch a nationwide healthcare education campaign. The campaign emphasized how personalized medicine could be incorporated into the cultural framework of local communities, highlighting the potential for improved health outcomes and greater individual empowerment. Dr. Rajesh Singh, a prominent Indian physician, noted, we've always believed in holistic care in India, focusing on the whole person, body, mind, and spirit. Personalized medicine is simply an extension of that philosophy, where we take into account the unique needs of the individual. In Latin America, countries like Brazil and Argentina faced similar challenges but were quick to realize the potential of personalized treatments for aging populations. Elder care had long been a focus in the region, and the advent of personalized medicine offered a new path toward healthier aging. As communities embraced these new treatments, they found that longevity wasn't just about extending life, it was about ensuring quality of life throughout the aging process. As more people gained access to personalized treatments, the global community faced a new question: how do we ensure health equity? While personalized medicine had the potential to benefit everyone, there were still significant challenges in making these advancements accessible to all. The cost of genetic testing and biotechnology remained a barrier for many, especially in lower-income countries. While technological advancements had made the treatments more affordable, the infrastructure required to support their widespread implementation was still developing. In many rural areas, access to the technology necessary for personalized treatments was limited, and the training of healthcare professionals was still underway. Elon Musk, aware of these challenges, called for more investment in global healthcare infrastructure. At a United Nations summit, Musk discussed the importance of using technological advancements to reduce global health disparities. The future of healthcare must be inclusive, Musk stated. We can't allow cutting-edge treatments to be a privilege for a select few. The goal is to ensure that every human being, no matter where they live, has access to personalized, life-enhancing medicine. Musk's commitment to health equity was further solidified through his partnerships with non-profit organizations and NGOs. Together, they worked on scaling up the infrastructure needed to deliver personalized medicine to remote areas, including mobile health clinics equipped with the necessary diagnostic tools. Perhaps the most revolutionary aspect of the global shift toward personalized medicine was its emphasis on prevention. Rather than waiting for people to become sick or develop age-related conditions, the new healthcare model was proactive, focusing on early intervention and predictive analytics to stop diseases before they started. Doctors could now predict the likelihood of diseases like Alzheimer's, heart disease, and even cancer based on an individual's genetic predisposition. By using this data, they could begin preventive measures years before the disease would have otherwise manifested, allowing people to take control of their health and avoid the onset of illness altogether. This was a game-changer for aging populations. For seniors, personalized medicine provided the tools to optimize health, extend life expectancy, and improve the quality of life. With the help of biotechnology, aging was no longer a downhill trajectory, it was something that could be managed, with people staying healthier, more active, and more engaged for longer than ever before. The rise of personalized medicine was the dawn of a new era in healthcare, one where technology, genetics, and the human experience all intertwined. Elon Musk's vision was beginning to shape the future of aging and wellness, but the journey was far from over. With the world's healthcare systems evolving to meet the demands of this new age, personalized medicine had become the new frontier of global health. Musk's companies were already setting their sights on the next breakthrough, AI-assisted health systems that could make treatments even more precise and tailored to the individual. But no matter how far the technology advanced, the core of the movement remained the same: empowering individuals to take control of their health, defy the aging process, and live longer, fuller lives. As the world embraced the era of personalized medicine, one innovation stood out as the most transformative: artificial intelligence, AI. Initially regarded as a tool for automation, AI was quickly proving to be far more than just a machine designed for efficiency. In healthcare, AI became a catalyst for change, driving revolutionary advances in aging, wellness, and longevity. For Elon Musk, the integration of AI into the medical field was more than just a convenience, it was a necessity. His companies, especially Neuralink and Tesla, were leading the charge in creating AI systems capable of analyzing and understanding the vast complexity of the human body. By combining biotechnology, genomics, and AI, Musk's vision of ageless strength was becoming a reality for seniors around the globe. The first wave of AI-driven health breakthroughs came through predictive health and personalized treatment plans. AI algorithms were able to analyze genomic data alongside lifestyle, environmental, and physiological information, creating highly detailed profiles of each individual. These profiles not only assessed current health but also predicted future vulnerabilities, offering the ability to intervene long before a disease could take hold. Dr. Samantha Fields, a leading AI healthcare expert at Neuralink, described the role of AI in aging. AI's ability to process vast amounts of data and identify hidden patterns has been a game-changer in predicting health outcomes. In the context of aging, AI helps us understand how the body's systems interact, revealing vulnerabilities and suggesting interventions far earlier than traditional medicine. This new technology could analyze data from genetic tests, wearable devices, and even smart home technologies to create a real-time health profile. For seniors, this meant their healthcare plan wasn't just a set of generic prescriptions, it was a dynamic, constantly updated system designed to adjust to their evolving needs. One of the most significant impacts of AI in the fight against aging was its ability to detect age-related diseases early, often before symptoms appeared. AI systems could analyze biomarkers in the blood, DNA, and other bodily fluids to flag potential issues like Alzheimer's, heart disease, or even cancer, long before they manifested physically. For example, in early trials using AI-driven diagnostics, doctors were able to identify early-stage Alzheimer's in patients whose cognitive functions still appeared normal. With AI analyzing vast databases of patient data, the algorithm could detect tiny changes in brain patterns or specific biomarkers that were indicative of the onset of cognitive decline. This allowed for early intervention, enabling patients to begin treatments aimed at slowing or even preventing the progression of these diseases. The result? A longer, healthier life, where age-related conditions didn't have to define one's existence. While AI's role in predicting diseases was groundbreaking, its impact on physical health and mobility was equally impressive. One of the most innovative uses of AI was in helping seniors retain physical strength as they aged. Neuralink's research into brain-computer interfaces, BCIs, began to show promise for enhancing muscle regeneration and neurological control, even in people well past their prime. AI-powered systems were designed to work in tandem with wearable technology to help monitor and improve muscle function. For seniors experiencing muscle atrophy, an AI system could be linked to a wearable exoskeleton that would provide real-time feedback and adjust the movement and resistance to stimulate the muscles in the optimal way. The exoskeletons weren't just mechanical tools, they were enhanced with AI to create personalized training regimens that adjusted in real time based on the senior's unique needs and progress. Musk believed this combination of AI and wearable technology could revolutionize the way we think about aging and mobility. We've entered an age where robots and machines aren't just there to serve us, they are here to help us maintain our own physical abilities, Musk remarked. The future of aging isn't just about living longer, it's about living stronger. Beyond physical strength, AI also began playing a crucial role in preserving cognitive function in seniors. Cognitive decline, a common consequence of aging, was one of the most significant concerns for many individuals. Through a combination of machine learning and brain-computer interfaces, AI began offering solutions to not only monitor cognitive health but also actively improve it. Using AI-driven cognitive training programs, seniors could engage in brain exercises designed to maintain and improve memory, attention, and other cognitive functions. These programs weren't just simple puzzles or games, they were scientifically designed algorithms that adapted to an individual's cognitive state. Over time, they became more challenging, pushing the brain to grow stronger and more resilient. In collaboration with Neuralink, AI was also being used to explore the possibility of reversing cognitive decline through direct neural stimulation. By using non-invasive brain stimulation techniques, AI systems could target specific areas of the brain, enhancing neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new connections and repair damaged ones. This breakthrough was particularly significant for those suffering from conditions like Alzheimer's or Parkinson's disease. Early results were promising, with many participants in clinical trials showing improvements in memory retention and overall mental clarity after just a few months of AI-assisted therapy. One area where AI was beginning to make a substantial impact was in the nutritional field. As personalized medicine took hold, AI-powered systems were able to analyze an individual's genetic makeup, metabolism, and current health status to create highly tailored dietary plans. These plans weren't just about eating the right foods, they were about optimizing the body's potential for aging and longevity. By pairing AI with advanced nutritional science, seniors could receive personalized meal plans that not only addressed their current health issues but also worked proactively to prevent future problems. Whether it was improving bone health, supporting muscle regeneration, or enhancing cognitive function, AI-driven diets were helping seniors live their healthiest, longest lives possible. Looking to the future, the integration of AI into aging and wellness was poised to become even more seamless. AI-assisted health platforms would act as personal health advisors, constantly monitoring, adjusting, and optimizing everything from diet and exercise to genetic treatments. For Musk, the goal wasn't just to extend life, it was to extend quality of life. As more and more seniors embraced AI-driven health technologies, aging was beginning to look less like a slow decline and more like a prolonged, vibrant journey. AI isn't here to replace us, Musk said in a keynote address. It's here to empower us, to enhance what's possible. The future isn't just about living longer, it's about living better, with strength, clarity, and vitality. With this vision in mind, AI was no longer just the future of technology, it was the future of health, aging, and human potential. As the world continued to embrace personalized medicine and AI, the true magic began to happen when these two technologies converged. The integration of artificial intelligence, AI, and biotechnology was creating an entirely new frontier for healthcare, one where aging, disease prevention, and longevity were no longer mysteries to be solved but problems to be conquered. Elon Musk and his network of innovators understood that for true ageless strength, AI and biotechnology had to work hand in hand, unlocking the secrets of human biology and revolutionizing the way we understood aging. For Musk, this was not just a personal ambition. It was a global mission to change the way people experienced aging. Together with experts from his companies like Neuralink, Tesla, and partners in the biotech world, Musk sought to make the impossible possible, enabling individuals to live longer, healthier lives with cutting-edge technologies that were shaping the future of health. In the early days, AI was a tool used to process and interpret vast amounts of data. Biotechnology, on the other hand, had traditionally focused on manipulating biological systems to improve health. Together, these two fields were no longer just complementary, they were becoming inseparable. Biotechnology, through its advances in genetics, stem cell therapy, genomic medicine, and regenerative medicine, was already changing the way we treated age-related diseases. But with AI's ability to rapidly analyze large datasets and predict outcomes, biotechnology could now evolve faster and more precisely than ever before. One of the most groundbreaking collaborations between AI and biotechnology was the use of machine learning algorithms to understand the complex genetic blueprints of human aging. By examining how specific genes and biomarkers contributed to age-related diseases such as Alzheimer's, heart disease, and cancer, researchers could pinpoint which interventions would be most effective for each individual. AI allowed them to process the massive amounts of data required to make this personalized approach work, data that was previously too overwhelming to analyze manually. This led to the creation of predictive models capable of not only identifying genetic predispositions to diseases but also forecasting how an individual's body might age, and what specific interventions, whether gene editing, cellular regeneration, or targeted pharmaceuticals, would have the most significant impact. Perhaps one of the most exciting intersections of AI and biotechnology was in regenerative medicine, where scientists began exploring ways to rejuvenate aging cells and tissues. By reprogramming cells and activating their natural repair mechanisms, it became possible to reverse certain effects of aging and damage caused by disease. Elon Musk's vision for Neuralink was critical here. Through brain-computer interfaces, Musk and his team were exploring ways to rewire and optimize the brain's neural connections, enabling the body to repair itself more efficiently. The application of this technology wasn't limited to the brain alone. As neuroscientists and biotechnologists worked together, they realized that the same principles of neuroplasticity that were being used to enhance brain function could also apply to physical health. By using AI-driven regenerative therapies, seniors could receive treatments that not only prevented aging but also reversed cellular damage caused by years of wear and tear. Imagine a person in their 70s with knees that feel 20 years younger, or skin that appears as if it had regenerated over a period of weeks, thanks to AI-guided biotechnology. Dr. Lina Zhang, a leading researcher at Neuralink, explained, "The human body has an incredible capacity for self-repair. With the right combination of biotechnology and AI, we can trigger these regenerative processes in ways we've never been able to before." One of the most powerful applications of AI and biotechnology was in the realm of gene editing. The technology known as CRISPR had already begun to show promise in altering the human genome, offering the potential to eliminate genetic disorders and prevent age-related diseases before they even took root. But gene editing had always been an imprecise and cumbersome process. Enter AI. By combining CRISPR with machine learning algorithms, scientists were now able to precisely target and edit genes responsible for aging and disease, with an accuracy that was once thought to be impossible. AI analyzed vast amounts of genomic data to find the most efficient gene editing pathways, ensuring that interventions didn't just remove defective genes but also enhanced beneficial traits associated with youthfulness, such as resilience to oxidative stress, cellular repair, and inflammation control. Musk was an early advocate for this type of intervention. At a biotechnology summit, he remarked, "We're not just talking about adding years to your life, we're talking about adding vitality to those years. By targeting the very genetic makeup that causes us to age, we can change the course of human health forever." In clinical trials, early results with CRISPR-based gene editing were showing dramatic improvements in cellular regeneration. Patients with age-related macular degeneration, for instance, began to experience improved vision after undergoing gene therapies that were tailored specifically to their genetic makeup. AI was used to monitor the progress, adjust therapies, and even predict potential side effects, ensuring a much safer and more efficient treatment. The question on everyone's mind was whether this merger of AI and biotechnology would lead to true immortality. While that answer remained elusive, Musk's bold vision suggested that the line between aging and vitality was blurrier than ever before. With every passing year, biotechnology and AI were pushing the envelope on human potential, making it more and more plausible that we could significantly extend the human lifespan, and not just extend it, but do so with enhanced quality of life. The notion of living a life where physical and cognitive decline could be delayed or even reversed was no longer just science fiction. AI-powered health systems, combined with biotechnology innovations like gene editing, regenerative medicine, and personalized therapeutics, were already providing seniors with the tools to maintain their vitality, prevent diseases, and improve their overall well-being. These advancements weren't just for the rich and powerful. They were beginning to be democratized, with healthcare systems around the world adopting these cutting-edge technologies and making them more accessible to the masses. Elon Musk's companies were on the front lines of this health revolution, bringing together the worlds of neuroscience, biotechnology, and artificial intelligence to create a new era of agelessness, one where aging wasn't feared, but embraced as a new chapter of strength, vitality, and endless potential. As AI and biotechnology continue to evolve, the future of aging looks brighter than ever. The combined power of artificial intelligence and cutting-edge biotechnology is redefining what it means to grow older, allowing seniors to live longer, healthier, and more fulfilling lives. For Musk and his team, the journey was just beginning. The intersection of AI and biotechnology would continue to transform healthcare, pushing the boundaries of what was once thought impossible. Ageless strength, fueled by AI-driven biotechnology, wasn't a far-off dream, it was the new reality. As advancements in AI and biotechnology began to revolutionize the world of aging, the question on everyone's mind wasn't just about how to extend life, but whether we should. The ability to significantly prolong life, reverse the effects of aging, and treat diseases before they even began posed a deeper dilemma: what price are we willing to pay for immortality? Elon Musk, with his futuristic ambitions and visionary mindset, often found himself at the crossroads of progress and ethical responsibility. With his companies, including Neuralink and Tesla, pushing the boundaries of artificial intelligence and biotechnology, Musk's work wasn't just about making life better, it was also about ensuring that the human condition wasn't compromised in the pursuit of progress. In this chapter, we explore the ethical questions that have come to the forefront as these revolutionary technologies promise to extend and even enhance life, as well as the moral consequences of playing God with human biology. The idea of immortality, or at least radical life extension, was no longer confined to the realm of science fiction. AI and biotechnology were making it a reality. Treatments like gene editing, regenerative medicine, and AI-guided health optimization had already begun to show promise in extending health spans, the length of time one could live in good health. But Musk, known for his bold ambitions, was quick to acknowledge the ethical considerations of such progress. "We're not just talking about living longer," Musk remarked in one of his keynote speeches. "We're talking about enhancing life in ways that can radically change how we live, work, and interact with one another." However, as the boundaries between life and death blurred, Musk and other thinkers in the field began to question, what would this new world look like? Could a society where people lived for centuries become a place of stagnation, overpopulation, and social inequality? Would this kind of technological immortality only benefit the wealthy, leaving the rest of the world behind? And, most profoundly, what does it mean for the very essence of what it means to live a full life? One of the most pressing ethical concerns surrounding these emerging technologies was the issue of access. While AI and biotechnology promised to provide incredible benefits, they were also expensive to develop and implement. Gene editing, regenerative therapies, and brain-computer interfaces were not yet affordable for the average person. In fact, as technology advanced, many feared that it would create a society divided into those who could afford immortality and those who could not. Musk, ever aware of the social consequences of technological advances, addressed this concern by saying, "It's crucial that we find ways to make these technologies more accessible to everyone, not just a select few." Indeed, if only the wealthiest individuals could afford the benefits of AI-enhanced longevity, we might see the rise of a new kind of genetic elite, where the wealthy could continuously enhance and extend their lives, while the underprivileged were left to suffer from age-related diseases and premature death. Such disparities could lead to widespread societal unrest. As the debate over the costs of these technologies continued, another moral question emerged: what is the value of life if it is artificially prolonged? Elon Musk's work in Neuralink and AI-enhanced therapy suggested that it might soon be possible for seniors to experience lives that extended well beyond current norms. Imagine a world where people didn't just live into their 80s or 90s but instead remained in good health for 150 years or more. They could continue to contribute to society, maintain relationships, and pursue passions long after their peers had passed. Yet, as much as this seemed like a dream, Musk often expressed a more cautious perspective. He believed that quality of life was just as important as quantity. "Living longer is not enough," he remarked during a Q&A session. "The real challenge is ensuring that people live full lives, with purpose, joy, and meaning." The ethical dilemma then became, should we just focus on extending longevity, or should we also aim to ensure that those extra years are lived with vitality, free from the physical and mental deterioration that typically accompanies aging? Would a longer life necessarily be a better life, or would the desire for immortality ultimately lead to a world where life's value diminished, as it stretched endlessly without meaning? For some, the idea of immortality wasn't just about the technology or the advances, it was about what it meant for the human experience as a whole. Death was an integral part of life, the natural end that gave meaning to time and existence. What would happen if death, the one thing all humans shared, was removed from the equation? Philosophers and ethicists began to question whether the human desire for immortality was simply an extension of fear, fear of the unknown, fear of loss, or fear of never having had enough time. Was the pursuit of endless life a natural desire, or was it a dangerous obsession with control over nature? Musk was not blind to these concerns. While he pushed for advancements in aging science, he recognized the intricacies of human mortality. In interviews, Musk often reflected on the meaning of life and the inevitability of death, noting that while he believed in extending life, he did not think humanity should necessarily avoid death altogether. Maybe the true purpose of life is not just to exist for as long as possible but to find ways to make the time we do have meaningful, he said. Perhaps that's where the real progress lies, not in trying to escape death, but in making life itself more fulfilling. As Musk's vision for ageless strength continued to evolve, so did the responsibility of those pushing the boundaries of science and technology. With AI and biotechnology advancing rapidly, it was clear that the ethical implications of these innovations would be felt by everyone, not just the wealthy few. The ultimate question was, who gets to decide how these technologies are used? As with any new technology, AI and biotechnology had the potential to empower individuals, but they could also be misused for harmful purposes. Innovators like Musk were tasked not only with creating groundbreaking technologies but with ensuring that these technologies were used ethically and for the greater good. This meant developing frameworks for equitable access, transparent decision-making, and long-term oversight. The power of these technologies is not just in their ability to extend life, it's in their potential to change what it means to live a good life, Musk concluded. As we stand on the brink of a new era in aging, the ethical questions surrounding immortality, AI, and biotechnology will only grow more complex. The desire to extend life and enhance health is natural, but we must tread carefully, ensuring that the pursuit of ageless strength does not come at the expense of the human experience. For Elon Musk and other innovators in the field, the challenge is not just to create life-extending technologies but to do so in a way that ensures equity, purpose, and meaning are preserved in the human condition. As the world stood on the precipice of what many were calling a health revolution, Elon Musk's advancements in AI and biotechnology had begun to show their true global impact. The implications of extending and enhancing life were no longer confined to individual health and wellness, they were touching every corner of the globe, reshaping economies, societies, and global relations in profound ways. For the first time in history, humanity was looking at a future where age-related diseases like Alzheimer's, cardiovascular disease, and cancer could be prevented, delayed, or even reversed. And at the center of this transformation stood a question that had the potential to define the future: what would a world where aging is no longer inevitable look like? The global revolution was not just about improving health for the elderly, it was about creating a new paradigm for living, working, and existing as humans. And the ripples of this revolution were being felt across borders, reshaping everything from healthcare systems to workforces and even cultural values. One of the most profound changes that aging technologies had brought to the world was the transformation of healthcare systems. Countries around the world, from the United States to China, were beginning to see the economic and social pressures associated with aging populations. As life expectancy continued to rise, there were growing concerns about the burden of supporting a rapidly aging population with outdated healthcare infrastructure. In the past, seniors were often seen as the most vulnerable members of society, requiring intensive care and resources. But with the advent of gene editing, AI-driven diagnostics, and regenerative medicine, healthcare systems were beginning to shift from a reactive approach to a more proactive one. Preventative care, based on personalized health assessments using AI and biotechnology, was allowing for the detection and treatment of health issues long before they became debilitating. Elon Musk's companies, particularly Tesla and Neuralink, were already at the forefront of this change, helping nations around the world understand the importance of adopting new technologies to enhance the health of their aging populations. Musk had long argued that innovative solutions could significantly reduce the economic burden of an aging society. Through AI-powered health tracking and biotech interventions, the elderly could continue to live productive, healthy lives well into their 100s, reducing the overall strain on social and healthcare systems. Another key area impacted by the aging revolution was the workforce. As life expectancy grew and people remained in good health for much longer, the traditional model of retirement was undergoing a radical shift. The idea that people would stop working at 65 and retire into a life of leisure was becoming increasingly outdated. Instead, seniors were now contributing to the workforce in ways that had previously seemed unimaginable. With the help of AI-powered enhancements, including neural interfaces and biotechnology, seniors could remain as productive as younger generations. Musk's Neuralink and other similar innovations were enabling older individuals to retain their mental sharpness and physical vitality, ensuring that they could continue to be active contributors to society. In fact, some countries were already implementing policies that encouraged seniors to remain in the workforce longer. In Japan, where the aging population was becoming a critical issue, AI and biotechnology were helping people remain cognitively healthy and physically agile well into their senior years, making it easier for them to stay employed. This shift had profound implications for the global economy. An older, healthier workforce meant that countries could benefit from the wisdom and experience of seasoned professionals, while simultaneously reducing pension costs and healthcare expenditures. The traditional view of aging as a time of decline was being replaced by a vision of seniors as an untapped resource capable of driving economic growth. Beyond the practical and economic impacts, the revolution in aging technology was also having a profound effect on cultural values and perceptions of life itself. In many cultures, aging was once seen as a natural progression, a time to slow down, reflect, and eventually prepare for death. But as longevity technologies began to shape a new future, cultural norms were shifting, and people started to rethink the meaning of life and purpose in old age. In the West, individualism had long been a defining feature of society, with a strong emphasis on personal fulfillment and the pursuit of happiness. With the extension of life came a new opportunity to revisit this idea of personal purpose, as people could now expect to live decades longer, giving them more time to explore new passions, start second careers, or give back to society in meaningful ways. In cultures with more traditional views on aging, such as in parts of Asia and Africa, the idea of endless life was both exciting and challenging. For some, the thought of living to 120 or beyond was an amazing opportunity, but for others, it raised concerns about family structures and societal roles. Would the elders continue to hold the revered status they traditionally enjoyed? Or would the new ability to extend life create generational divides and alter the very fabric of familial and community life? Despite these complexities, one thing was clear: age was no longer an indicator of value or contribution to society. The revolution in aging technologies was ushering in a new era where experience and wisdom were seen as vital assets, not limitations. As the global revolution in aging technology unfolded, it became increasingly apparent that access to these innovations would be one of the key challenges moving forward. While wealthy nations like the United States, Japan, and European countries were already integrating AI and biotechnology into their healthcare systems, many developing nations faced barriers to accessing these groundbreaking technologies. For Musk, democratizing access to these innovations was essential. The goal is not just to create a world where aging is no longer a burden for the rich, he explained. The goal is to create a worldwide ecosystem where people, regardless of where they live, have access to the technologies that will help them live healthier, more fulfilling lives. To address this, global partnerships were formed, bringing together governments, private companies, and non-profit organizations to create initiatives that would bring biotech breakthroughs to underserved communities. By investing in education, infrastructure, and research, the hope was to create a world where aging technologies were not just a luxury but a universal right. The global revolution in aging technology was just beginning, and its impact was already being felt around the world. From transforming healthcare systems to redefining the workforce and shifting cultural attitudes, the changes were profound. Elon Musk's work in AI and biotechnology had set the stage for a future where aging was no longer seen as inevitable decline but as a journey of strength, vitality, and potential. As the world moved toward this new frontier, it was clear that ageless strength would become the defining characteristic of future generations, a symbol of what humanity could achieve when it combined the power of technology with the will to create a better, more inclusive world. As the dust settled from the first wave of biotech revolutions and the advancements in artificial intelligence, humanity stood at the brink of an unprecedented transformation. The promise of ageless strength, once a mere dream, was now a tangible reality that was beginning to redefine life itself. The question was no longer whether people could live longer, it was how they would live in those extended years. Through the visionary efforts of Elon Musk, and many other pioneers in AI and biotechnology, society had begun to experience a radical shift. A shift that not only challenged the traditional notions of aging, but also made us reconsider what it truly meant to be human. In this final chapter, we explore the enduring legacy of these innovations and what the future holds for the next generations. The world was already changing, but the age of ageless strength had only just begun. The first and most obvious result of the technological breakthroughs Musk championed was the eradication of age-related diseases. Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, heart disease, and cancer, all once seen as the inevitable companions of aging, were now becoming preventable or even reversible. With the development of gene-editing technologies, AI-guided therapies, and regenerative medicine, the very notion of growing old was being redefined. Instead of helplessly watching as the body deteriorated, people were empowered to take control of their health, extend their vitality, and remain active for far longer than was once thought possible. But these advancements weren't just about adding years to life. They were about adding quality, about creating a future where people didn't just live longer, but lived better. The future promised a world where people could maintain their mental sharpness, physical agility, and emotional well-being well into their centuries, creating a new class of seniors who were not just surviving, but thriving. As people's lifespans grew longer, the traditional markers of education and career were being completely transformed. No longer confined by age, individuals were now able to pursue multiple careers, master new skills, and contribute to society in ways that were previously impossible. With advancements in neural interfaces and AI-driven learning, individuals could now continue their education well into their later years, reinventing themselves as lifelong learners and innovators. The barriers of age in the workforce were being erased, allowing seniors to actively participate in the workforce, contribute to scientific progress, and mentor younger generations. The intergenerational exchange of ideas became a hallmark of this new world. Seniors brought decades of knowledge, wisdom, and experience, while younger generations contributed fresh perspectives, innovative ideas, and technological expertise. This dynamic created a society where learning and growth didn't stop at any specific age, giving rise to a culture of lifelong innovation. Musk's companies, which were at the cutting edge of AI development, became key players in this new landscape. Through Neuralink, Tesla, and SpaceX, Musk ensured that these technologies weren't just about improving life expectancy, but about creating new opportunities for everyone to realize their potential, regardless of age. Despite the progress made, the path toward ageless strength was not without its challenges. The question of equity loomed large. Would these breakthroughs be accessible to all, or would they be reserved for a select few? Would the world divide into the immortal elite and the rest, deepening existing inequalities and social divides? Musk, ever aware of the ethical implications of his work, recognized the need for global access to these life-changing technologies. He was committed to ensuring that advancements in aging technology would benefit people from all walks of life, not just the wealthy. This was why his companies made significant efforts to reduce the cost of these innovations and to distribute them globally. The vision Musk had was not a world of immortal elites but a world where ageless strength was accessible to all. By fostering partnerships with governments, non-profit organizations, and international research institutes, he hoped to create a global framework where equity in aging technologies would become the norm, not the exception. At its core, the mission was to create a world where longevity wasn't just a privilege for the few, but a right for everyone, a future where health and well-being were not determined by wealth or social status. Perhaps the most profound change brought about by these advancements was the end of the traditional life cycle. No longer would people live out their lives according to a fixed timeline dictated by the limitations of the human body. Instead, people would be able to shape their lifespan according to their own desires, choosing when and how to slow down or pursue new endeavors. Retirement, as a concept, was already becoming obsolete. In its place emerged the idea of continuous reinvention. People could now live multiple lives within one lifetime, contributing to science, art, business, and society at various stages. The very idea of age was shifting from a number to a mindset. The future was now about having the freedom to pursue passions, take risks, and live boldly, knowing that one's body and mind would be able to keep up, far longer than previous generations had ever imagined. Elon Musk's legacy in the ageless strength revolution was not just about the technologies he developed. It was about the values he instilled and the future he envisioned. By combining cutting-edge AI with biotechnology, Musk was able to extend life, but more importantly, he sought to enhance it. Through his relentless drive for progress, Musk opened the door to a future where aging could be something to embrace, not fear. His work ignited a global movement, one that called for innovation in every aspect of life, from health to education, to the very way we relate to time itself. But his vision also prompted critical conversations about the ethics of immortality. What did it mean for humanity to transcend the limitations of aging? Was it worth the cost? And how could we ensure that the benefits of these technologies were shared equally across the world? Ultimately, the future Musk envisioned was not one where aging was conquered by technology alone, but one where humanity's potential could finally be unleashed, where every individual, regardless of age, could live their life to its fullest, with strength, purpose, and meaning. As we look ahead, the future of aging is one of limitless potential. The road to ageless strength has just begun, and the journey is one of endless possibilities. The legacy of Elon Musk's work is clear: ageless strength is not just about prolonging life, it's about living life to the fullest. It's about ensuring that every person, no matter their age, has the opportunity to thrive, to grow, and to leave their mark on the world. The future is not about the fear of aging, but the celebration of life, a life that can now last as long as one dares to dream. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough?